Just in time for me to start. How do people do that? I think we're live, Ben. Here we go. Good morning, Bitcoin. Today is Monday, November 30th, 2020 at 10 a.m. on the West Coast. The price of Bitcoin is up 7.5% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 19,466, a high of 19,844, and a low of $18,033. That's $1 for 5,138 Satoshis. The Bitcoin continues to lean long, with 84% of the market heading that direction. Bitcoin dominance is at 63%. As CoinDesk wrote this morning, Bitcoin price sets new record high above 19,738, November 30th, 2020. After nearly 3 years of waiting, Bitcoin investors can celebrate a new all-time high Monday after the leading cryptocurrency traded as high as $19,786.24, breaking the previous record set in December 2017 by $3, according to the CoinDesk Bitcoin Price Index data. Long-time Bitcoin investors have weathered more than one bearish market cycle, but for newer participants, the record highs represent validation of their investment as the cryptocurrency continues to demonstrate resilience. Bitcoin has hit a new all-time high, 19,783. We're joined by Josh and Ben. How's it going, guys? Let me set some settings here. Where's the screen share button? It's hidden behind the other screen share button.
There's a lot of screen share buttons going on.
Buttons.
Yeah. Well, you're already on the moon with your NASA jumper.
All set. Got my NASA sweatshirt all ready to go.
Yeah.
Too bad my moon backdrop, which people probably don't remember from the last time we were on the moon, is in Sacramento. So I don't have the moon drop backdrop with me on the moon.
You mean it's on Earth?
It's on Earth. It's where I keep all my stuff.
Yeah, yeah. I somehow remember the all-time high being above 20K, but maybe that was just like a little ping on one of the exchanges. And
I think it's also in your mind, like in everyone's mind, we were all going to sell when it got to 20K. Because when you get to 20K, 5 Bitcoin is 100K. And that's a nice round number where we can all sell and be happy. So, of course, as it says here, it went to 19,783. No one was happy. Then it went down. Then everyone freaked out. Then it went down more and everyone freaked out. Then it went down more again and more a couple more times. And a lot more people freaked out. Let's say hello to everybody in the chat. We're getting the chat ready to go on the screen here. Everybody say hi and give us a thumbs up down below. We're back with you again, celebrating a new all-time high. How many people were with us the last time we celebrated an all-time high? Let us know if you're still around in the chat.
Yeah. Thomas, do you want to drop the link for the chat somewhere, or the
let's see,
find it.
Here we go. But yeah, now you have to keep talking. Josh, what do you think about the all-time high?
Well, I mean, I put a poll the other day on the Voltoro VIP Alerts Telegram channel, which you can get at Telegram, whatever it is, Voltoro VIP. Anyway, I said, as we hit down, is this, and then we started going back up again, is this a bull trap, or are we having a second crack at the all-time highs? And in the beginning, everyone voted for it's a bull trap. But then I looked at it this morning. Nope, it's a second crack at the all-time highs, and they were right. Of course, data gets better the closer you get to the deadline. But it's an incredible time. I think what will be really interesting is once we pass the all-time high for an extended period, all the technical analysis people won't have anything to go on. It's basically just there's just no resistance. There's no nothing. So it could go crazy, which is always fun, but it's also very scary. You know, people. What I really liked is that I liked that it dropped back down for a little bit there. It set a whole new, some new sort of ground to be able to bounce off of for a while. I feel like it might head back down again. It'll head back up again. It'll sort of, like an earthquake, sort of boom, and then it sort of wiggles out, and then it'll slowly. And my hope is that it'll really slowly head up past 20 instead of just mooning every day another K or two, because that just gets scary. And the problem with that is it's fun, but once it crashes really hard, it'll stay down for another 2-3 years. So you really want slow progression moves and finding new ground.
We're also joined by, is it working? Maybe. We're also joined by Ben from Wales. Ben, your thoughts on the new all-time high?
Yeah, I didn't know it was. I was busy, so I didn't know it was happening until you dropped the link for this show, and then I was like, "Oh, okay, we got there." It was inevitable because, I mean, the little crash which happened with this Coinbase tweet, it showed how illiquid we are and how if we can move down that percentage off a tweet, then we can sure as hell move up. By quite a large amount. But I said in the last couple of shows, I said it's all pent up value, which is being justified and shown in the price now, which we're having, and it's still got plenty of room to go. So the all-time high being broken is huge, and the last times it's done this, it's gone up quite considerably. So hold on to your seats and then enjoy the ride. I'm actually trying to do something pretty cool. Which isn't working, but if it did work, it would be cool. So I'm trying to set up a chatbot, which is the CB thing we've got here. So when there'll be a QR code on there, and you can scan it, and then it will take you to a page where you can put in a comment and then pay some sats per word, and then it will inject our conversation with their comment, like as an audio file, so that if they pay, they can like interrupt our conversation to like.
Oh my god, this is brilliant.
To say something.
Wow.
So I'm trying to work out that I got it kind of connected to Discord, and I've got it to basically just using a webhook. Like Discord has this really nice webhook feature.
Yeah.
So when a message is dropped up, so I can send a message from an LN bits LN ticket to Discord, and then Discord will then just make the speak the message. So I'm trying to set up another laptop which kind of works like that using but anyway, that's not really working. But no, the price action, great. What was it off the back of? Does anyone know? I mean, I haven't really paid any attention to much really. So what was there a catalyst per se, or was it just a bit of time, enough people ready to buy, and etc.?
I think it's Monday morning.
Yeah.
Markets open, people back from the weekend. Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's that they fed the monkeys at the zoo. So one of the wonderful things about this whole market is that no one really knows the reasons. We can all speculate, whereas I feel like with the stock exchange, it's so vast and moving. Of course, sometimes if Elon Musk smokes a spliff and the stocks tank, then you can kind of equate that. But generally speaking, you can get wacky news like China just busted and confiscated $4 billion worth of crypto, yet the market goes up. In the past, we've had amazing news and Bitcoin's gone down in price. So you don't really know what's going on. I guess some whales might, but
I can empathize with the China thing in a way, because when I heard that they had all that plus token Bitcoin, I was kind of relieved, because I was like, oh, at least it's not in the hands of some dodgy dumpers. So I mean, of course, they could just dump the market anyway and crash the market anyway, but it's in their interest now to not do that. Whereas I just, I almost like trust, you know, what you say what you want about the Chinese government, but they'll have some people in there who, you know, have some idea of you know, economy. Whereas with the plus token scam, it kind of worried me that these people had like 1% of all the Bitcoin. So I was actually kind of relieved that it was then in China's hands somehow, you know, almost. I don't know why, just instinctively I felt a little bit of relief from that. I thought, well, you know, at least that 1% isn't just going to suddenly, and I think that was the fear. A lot of people had that fear from the plus token scammers. I don't know. So maybe that was maybe for people in China who might be buying. Maybe that's good. You know, something they like, or maybe it again points towards Bitcoin being, you know, the alpha being the actual system, which makes sense when you have something like this plus token scam. Maybe that, you know, so more Chinese people are now buying Bitcoin today because of it or something. I don't know, but I can see how it's a positive bit of news.
Well, Good Girl says that clothes are not essential, Ben. So, you know, this Good Girl really wants you to take a bit of clothing off for every dollar that Bitcoin rises.
Oh, crikey.
Yeah.
I'm not wearing enough clothing.
Pressure's on.
Clothes are essential when you live in a windy, cold Wales. I'll show you that. Oh wow, it's really jumping up! Crikey.
Yeah. So I think, you know, one of the things that I'm always interested in is the notion of technical analysis. How much do you guys believe in it? Because it is a little bit of magic.
I believe in the herd. So if enough people believe in some TA thing, then they will buy and sell on that signal, and then that will move the market. So, you know, but I don't believe technical. I think technical analysis itself, it's like you know, astrology or something. It just makes no sense. But I do believe that, you know, if enough people are doing it, then of course it can, you know. I mean, if there's like a very obvious cup and handle or something, then, you know, that is going to cause some price shift.
Yeah, I never knew how much a cup and a handle would move prices globally. Like, you know, someone sees some crazy shape, I don't know, a horse's tail or a McDonald's symbol. See, they started talking about this McDonald's symbol. You can see by the price here, this M.
And the M's and the W's,
yeah. And then everyone's like, "Ooh, watch out for the M's." But if you look around, M's are everywhere because it's always bouncing. You know, this is ridiculous. But one of the scams to look out for, folks, with TA people is that they'll actually post 2 videos on YouTube, and then they'll hide, like saying, "Oh, it'll go up, it'll go up, it'll go up," in one video, and it'll go down, it'll go down, and it'll go down in the other video. Then they'll hide the one once the fact comes out, and then they'll go, look, I was right every single time. Buy my course. So be careful on that one.
Yeah. It's funnily enough, actually, I ended up watching. I just had YouTube playing in the background, and do you remember that, like, Richard Hart, Tone Vase chat they had? It was like a standoff thing they had at some show a few years ago. Oh, what was the show? I think I can't remember.
Was it in person or was it online?
Yeah, it was in person. It was the two of them in person, and they were like, Tone Vase was calling him a scammer, and then he was calling Tone Vase a scammer for his TA stuff, and it's very entertaining debate they had. At the time, I remember watching it because I always thought Rich Hart actually had very good price calls. He was like the first one to like call, you know, when Bitcoin was at its top, and publicly come out and look very depressed and anxious that it was probably going to go down. Whereas at that time, Tone Vase was saying, "Oh, you know, it's going to carry on going up, whatever." So it was interesting to watch it back at that, because I think it was the beginning of last year or whatever, or some time, and I think the price was probably about, you know, over $10,000, like $12,000 or something. And then the guy who's doing the show, he says, "Okay, now price predictions. Where's the price going to be in 6 months or a year or something?" And then Tone Vase said, "Well, going by my TA, blah blah blah, I think it's going to be $3,000." And I remember at the time watching that and thinking, "What an ass! That's stupid. It's only $3,000. What a complete idiot." And Whereas Richard Hart said, "Oh no, it's not going to do that. It's going to stay. It's going to go up and it's going to go to 14 and then blah blah." But Tone Vays was right. It went down quite significantly, and what was the bottom since the last all-time high? Where were we? Was it £3,000 or $3,000?
It was around $3,300 at the time.
It's
though,
pretty spot on.
The TA people were predicting 1,300. So it's very selective when you want to listen to them, because if you say at this point he's right, but if you waited for 1,300 because you continued believing, is he still right? I mean, a lot of people that waited for 1,300 never bought any Bitcoin. I remember being at Tone's conference when it was at 3,000, and I don't want to throw her under the bus, but Leah was saying that they couldn't advise their clients to buy Bitcoin yet.
Well, that's the hyperwave stuff.
And a lot of the hyperwaver, a lot of those people have great credentials and a great history, but no one really knows the future except for mad Bitcoins who told you to buy Bitcoin at like $100.
But I mean,
and then never said anything else. Never said anything else. And that's the magic of predicting. You just have to lay down something and then wait long enough. You'll be very right or very wrong. So
I think maybe on a long time frame, when they have to make like a price call, in a year's time or something, then someone like Tone Vays, you can have quite accurate price predictions. But I think that their problem is because their product, what they're selling is like a daily trading, commentary online or whatever. They're constantly looking at the price, and it's that Warren Buffett quote of the market's a way of impatient people to lose money to patient people. You're then inevitably like having to predict price in a very impatient way over very small time frames, and I think that is really hard. But I at the time of it being $14,000, whatever it was at the time, I remember the sound of it being $3,000 being preposterous, and like I remember watching that the first time and thinking that's just ridiculous. And actually, we did get there. So, and had he just then not said anything, that would have been a very good price call. But he had to continue analyzing the price and those charts and using that silly number thing and sticking by that. So.
Well, and that is the difference between making one pick and getting out versus making daily action of it. It's the difference between like enjoying it as a sport or having a Warren Buffett interest versus gambling every day, off and on every day. And then even in reality, he always said he didn't trade every day. He didn't trade on every 9. He did a whole different thing, and he mainly held Bitcoin. But that's not an interesting show. Like me sitting around holding Bitcoin, selling for rent, holding less Bitcoin, selling for rent, holding less Bitcoin. Then at the end, being pretty happy because it went up. It's all right. You still got something left. That's not a fun show. That doesn't have like luxury items and fancy watches and rich steak dinners. It's more of a like steady decline downward. Then there's a huge up. You probably don't sell because you're a huge Bitcoin enthusiast. You're like, I can't sell anything. And then it just goes up. And then, like Josh is saying, there is something to be said, while I don't know about the technical analysis thing, to these waves. Markets and new adoption, something like Bitcoin, does seem to be adopted in waves where, $300, we're crazy happy. Whoa, back to 75, back to 50, $1,400. Wow, small car. Whoa, back to 300. What's happened to us? $300. Every single time Bitcoin goes down, everyone thinks that there'll never be any more Bitcoin and that all the alts are going to go and everything's going to go. And then, from 300 back to 14,000 up to this around 19,000. But it was only there like a day or two. There was only a couple days where you could have been like, I'm really smart, I'm getting out. And then, like Ben said, back to the, 15, 10, still not feeling good, 6, feeling really bad. And then that dip down to 3, that was the harshest time. That was the very bottom. And then after that, it got back to the crazy side where you're like, maybe I never should have sold anything. Maybe I should have more. It's going 6, 7, 8, 9. Whoa. And then it hit that 13 back down again. And everyone's freaked out. And then, whoa, 15. So there's no way to time it right. No one times it right.
It's really that earthquake thing of... But I just want to look at this chat here for a minute. People saying Vays was totally wrong. The Pam Van, thank you very much for these great comments. Tone was relevant when there was only enthusiasts involved. Tone Waves was always wrong since he has been in the media.
Tone Waves.
Tone Waves. Yeah, I mean, look, I'm friends with Tone. I like him on a personal level, but I am a bit cautious when it comes to TA. I think there are, like what Ben said, certain things where people just have all the same tools. Like, let's say they all have, I don't know, some sort of Fibonacci sequence lines that they draw, and everyone draws the same ones so that they see these round numbers, they see these Fibonacci lines, or they see some sort of TA algorithm, and then they think, okay, that's the formula. And about, I don't know, 1 million people use the same formula, so it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy. So there's both sides to it, but it's a tricky thing. The old technical analysis. It's a bit of magic. It's a bit of fun, but I wouldn't take it too seriously. But there's also something to be said about it. I think the biggest part of TA is really that you want to just try to see, not this is a time to buy. It's more, I think there's 51% chance that it'll go up more than down. So I'll do the up. Because you never are fully sure, and you're just hoping that that you're going 51 or 60%. You're looking for percentages of likelihood rather than, I predict it's going to go up. Like, no, I predict that 60% chance of going up, right, and 40% chance of going down. This is the kind of thing. So you're right. Some of the time you're wrong, of course. But the problem is when you make public calls, everybody just shouts you down, and because you're playing with people's money, and people take you seriously. And like I said before, that scam where people will do 2 videos, one saying that it's going to go up, one saying it's going to go down for sure, and then hiding those videos that are wrong, and then going, look at my video history, they're all correct. This is such a typical scam, and the only way to bust these sorts of people is to watch them very, very closely. And keep an eye on their videos, the ones that are public. But nevertheless, I don't want to bring it down because we're at all-time highs.
We're at all-time highs. I just want to welcome everyone in the chat. Make sure you give us a thumbs up and a share. We're up to 42 live viewers, but we only have 12 likes. So give us a like. It's free down below. Everyone in the chat's talking about their current targets, what they think the price is going to do. Did you guys hodl the whole way? Did you buy and sell? I think the unsatisfactory thing to say here is that you have to have different piles for things. You have to put part of your money in a long-term hodl, part of your money in a savings account, maybe dollars or real estate or whatever, or retirement. Put part of your money into aggressive, altcoins. Put part of your money into holding Bitcoin. Maybe if you want to do the tops and bottoms, try to sell this thing. I think that kind of combination, though it's unsatisfactory, it's unsatisfying. It's not as fun as putting all your money on one horse and seeing what happens. That's much more risky than you think it is. So as someone who did diversify a little bit, which means I have less and all that stuff, it's less exciting that it goes crazy up, but it's also less damaging if it goes crazy down. You can sit back and watch your investments rather than be panicked and on the edge of your nails all the time. And if you are panicked on the edge of your nails all the time right now, maybe you have overinvested, maybe you put all of your money into Bitcoin. There's nothing wrong with taking 5%, 10% off the table, even 3%, just to have a little bit of profits. 19,000 is great. The other day we said take a little profits, and it dipped to 16. If you took them and you were really aggressive, you could have rebought. Otherwise, you could have at least felt good at the 16 that you got a couple sells in at 9, even if 19, even if it's only $100 or $1,000. And remember, if selling 10% would change your life, and I mean paying off those credit cards, getting a better car, getting better shoes, better jacket, whatever it's going to be, do that. Like, live your life today. As much as it's fun to try to be this ultimate hodler, saving all your money, betting it all on one horse, winning or losing in this dramatic scene. There's a much less dramatic scene where you sell a little bit now and then to pay for your credit cards and your groceries and maybe buy something nice. because it's up. But yeah, we got to have this middle road. It's less fun. It's not, woo, it went to this. But the reality is, if you were up crazy last time and you're up a little less this time, you're probably in a safer position. You probably did things where you still sold into profit, but now you're safer. You can relax a little more. So,
well, there's always the danger as well that if you don't sell a little bit now and pay off those credit cards, that the price will tank, and then you'll suddenly have to sell some Bitcoin for whatever reason, and you'll get a lot less for it, and you'll forever kick yourself the amount, the quantity of Bitcoin sats you sold versus what you could have sold for. So I do believe in a little bit of profit taking, but then also like your main stash, which you are keen on hodling, don't start trying to play about with it too much. Don't start trying to buy and sell and predict the market. Your security model should be as such that you're unable to do that, because your Bitcoin is so secure that it takes you days to get the seed together to be able to actually, shift and move Bitcoin around. So, I think a lot of the reason there's excitement and jubilation around Bitcoin a few years ago and now still very much so, is because when people get something of an understanding of what it is and how it works and its potential, they realize it's flipping cool, and like not enough people are using it, and not enough people are making use of the technology. And all it takes is just for a few more people to use it, and a few more people to make use of the technology as a way of saving value, or as a way of moving money around the internet very, very fast on something like Lightning Network, or whatever other commodity uses will come up with it in the future. And I think when you realize how useful Bitcoin is, and how it's very likely that it will be a very important technology as we're going into a more digital future, that's when you think, yeah, okay, well, of course the price is going to go up, because people are going to bloody use the stuff and they'll need it. And I think that's been one of the driving motivations, and for a lot of people who've up to this point have put the price up. And I think it will continue, because there's still an ocean of asset money to flood into Bitcoin. And as I said, like it's a liquid enough to drop 12% or whatever it dropped with that Coinbase tweet, then it's a liquid enough to 4x, 5x, 10x, whatever. I think the best price prediction I ever did, just on a side note, was I think it was at $300, and it's on Reddit somewhere. I'll dig it out, and I just took the last all-time high and low before that, which I think was, what was the I can't even remember, was it 14,000 or something? And then not 40,000, 1,400, sorry, the Mt. Gox thing. And then where did that come up from? I can't remember. But anyway, I took that part of the chart, and then I just scaled it up from $300. And I think it landed at 19,500. And then I said, okay, so in a couple of years, this will be the price. And I put it on Reddit, and people, oh, shut up, this is ridiculous. And I'm actually, it was spot on. So let's hope it does that again, because if it does that again, then I think it'll be worth, what was it? From our low, it would be, like $240,000 or something a Bitcoin, which I think we all think is very feasible anyway. But yes, bit of profit taking, bit of wise money management is important. But then also, don't start getting trigger happy, because that's how people lose money.
No, it's about cross averaging out. As every 1,000 that goes up, take 5% out, and on the way down, cross average back in. This is the thing about twisting your mindset. Really see Bitcoin as anything that you buy. If you go to a shop and you see a pair of jeans and they're on sale, you don't walk past and go, oh no, it's going to go down further. No, you just think, hey, it's on sale, I'm going to buy that. Whereas a lot of people, when they see Bitcoin down, they're like, ooh, no, geez, it's dead. It's dead in the water. It's going to go down further. And the same thing, if jeans are really expensive in the store, you think, maybe I should sell my jeans because, obviously there's a premium on them right now. Ridiculous, really, talk about jeans. But I'm just saying, to get your mindset away from that when prices go down, that it's something to be scared of buying more. This is what you see in typical bear markets. Why the bear just keeps on being bearish. We have here a question from Good Girl. What's your favorite stable coins? Look, if you, in case you want to lock in some fiat profits, the thing is with stable coins is that you've got two counterparties that you're trusting in terms of fiat stable coins. Let's take Tether or any of the fiat stable coins. You've got the bank account that's storing this so-called fiat. And if the bank account decides to freeze it, if the government decides, hey, there was a transaction on the dark market with one of these stable coins, where's the backing for this? Oh, it's there. Okay, freeze it. So there's one counterparty risk. The other counterparty risk is the company that's running the stablecoin mismanaging it. So it's there's multiple parties there at risk. There are, of course, things like the Make a Die, which is a very, very interesting project. It's programmatic. It's a stablecoin that isn't backed by anything but over collateralization. It's backed by over collateralization of an asset like Ether. But that's a very, very new technology. It's also very scary. We still haven't seen how it reacts to full-on black swan events. Let's see. Of course, Vaultoro is where I work, and we hold physical allocated gold bullion. It's bank independent in a high-security Swiss vaulting facility, and you can trade back to Bitcoin whenever you want. And the good thing about gold, what I like, is that you're jumping from a rare asset to a rare asset. You're not getting the government involved. You're not getting the bank involved. Plus, if you cash out, a lot of people that cash out to banks have their accounts frozen. Heaps of friends of mine, they might think, oh, I'm going to cash out, 30, 50K, 100K. Even someone took out 15K and they had their bank account just frozen because it came from a crypto exchange. And so this is really scary for a lot of people. They're like, yeah, I'm in the money. And then they're thinking, how am I going to actually do anything with this? So what a lot of people have been doing, why people use Vaultoro, is because it's bank independent. They can lock in some profits and buy back crypto later. But what you really want to do is pay for things in Bitcoin. You don't want to go back to fiat. You want to pay for things in Bitcoin. You want to pay for things in cryptocurrency. And that's what's, I think is really important when you're starting to look at these all-time highs, is to lock in those profits. And the notion of diversifying into alts, yeah, look, there's some alts that will pump like crazy, and there's some people that are going to make a lot of money buying successful pumps in alts. But remember, it is a casino. There are, in my opinion, there are some very good, legitimate projects out there that are trying to do good stuff. But there's a lot of scams. There's a lot of crap out there, and obviously, the doubling effect in some of these small cap coins are a lot more than the doubling effect of Bitcoin, because from Bitcoin to go from here to 40K might be a bit harder than some crap coin sitting at 10 cents to go to 20 cents. So there is that, but it's not a diversification when you diversify into other cryptos, because everything follows Bitcoin. And when you see that some of these comments in different forums saying, why has BAT token tanked? What's the reason? And you're thinking, what are you talking about, you fool? Have a look at Bitcoin. It's tanking because Bitcoin's tanking. Like, wait, you really think there's some reason BAT token is going down apart from the fact that Bitcoin's no? I mean, everything follows Bitcoin. So there's no such thing as really diversifying out of Bitcoin, apart from there might be higher swings and lower swings in some of these alts, and if you can trade them well done, but it's very, very difficult. And if you really truly want to take profits and diversify into property, diversify into other rare assets, physical assets.
I would agree with Josh. I think holding gold at Vaultoro is a great way to diversify. Also, as far as my favorite, what are they called again? USD stable coins. I don't know about all that. If you're on an exchange that only has that option, that is a good way to put some money into something that's not Bitcoin for a little while. But if you're on Coinbase or one of the other exchanges that offers USD, I think you could just trade into that USD if you're waiting for it to go back up and then trade back in. So at least you have some value in USD. And I saw a lot of people in the chat worrying about taxable events and if it's taxes and all this stuff. From experience, I can tell you it's better to cash out and have a gigantic tax problem than not to cash out and to watch it all go away. So if even 10% would help you feel like you have a giant tax problem, I would go with the 10%. I want to thank everybody for liking this show. Keeping an eye on the likes. We have about 55 people watching and 30 people have liked the show. So be sure to give us a like down below. We're going to go back through the chat here, read some of your comments out loud, and try to talk about that. So if you have a question or a comment about the Bitcoin all-time high that we're seeing, do you think it's great? Do you think it's up more, down more? Let us know in the chat. So let's check it out. Philip Andrew says he finds Tone to be overly bearish. His current target is only 40,000. So once again, once you get into the predicting game, you always have these kind of up and down targets, and you're always, if this happens, if that happens, if this happens, if that happens. It's always very unclear on what you're supposed to do. But let's see. Mightiest Helmut says, if the market stays somewhat true, the real math shows Bitcoin hitting 125,000 in November 2024. So that would be pretty good. Still 4 years out, though. A lot of people are predicting a faster rise. Some of them are even famous Wall Street people. Does that make their predictions better? No, they're just the same. Just the same. Yeah.
Yeah, I find it funny now that all these, these experts are coming out of the woodwork who have all been poo-pooing cryptocurrency for so many years, and now they're all of a sudden, I better, say that. And of course, because they're from Bloomberg, we better listen to them. It's crazy. It's crazy, this world.
And not that it matters, because you don't have the ability to buy and all those things. But going back to the original Mad Bitcoin show, Bitcoin was $150, and I told you to buy it, put my whole reputation on there, and then kept doing shows. So with these CNBC people, they only tell you about it when it's up. So welcome to anybody that's here because you watch CNBC. That's good. That's any way you get introduced to Bitcoin is a good way. So there's nothing wrong with them spreading the word. It's just, I wish they would have talked about it the whole time it was down. Could you imagine if they could go back through their reports and have a montage where it's like, wow, Bitcoin 5,000, Bitcoin 3,000, you given up yet? No, haven't given up yet. And then 3, 5, 7, 9, 12, it goes right back up. They could have had a great montage, but instead they took away the Bitcoin ticker when it broke 6,000. They said it was dead at 3,000. And now it's back up to 20. So I just don't know why you would trust those people anymore. I guess if you want to know,
I'm always
go ahead, Ben.
I'm always quite underwhelmed by, because like you do hold them in some reverence, these people who work for a big financial company. But I'm always amazed how underwhelmed I am when I meet them, or when I look at their actual day-to-day price calls, and that, like it's the sort of job a lot of regular normal home traders could pick up and do. They're just playing with other people's money, and they've just got to ensure they bring in a certain very small percentage. So yeah, no, I think it's true that just because they're in a position of prominence, that they somehow have I think it's completely untrue that they have any qualifiers which we haven't, other normal people don't have, particularly when they don't know the technology. So you'll have someone who has no idea what Bitcoin is, no idea how it works, and then they'll come out and start to make statements about it, how it's unuseful, and and you know that they have no idea about how the technology works or what it's used for. And I saw a tweet the other day, and I think it was Samson Mow tweeted, there was someone arguing with him, and they're like, oh yeah, how do you think that Bitcoin could possibly be the world's future money when there's only 25 million of them? And it's little quotes like that, and you think, okay, well, this guy's clearly not got a great take on it. He doesn't even know how many there are, and obviously that they can be divided so small. And so yeah, no, I'm always underwhelmed by the people who would hold an esteem and prominence, who actually kind of don't really know what they're talking about when it comes to Bitcoin or money.
A lot of the reason I think that this becomes overwhelming, Ben, is because of the format. The format of a daily show requires a daily prediction. It requires something to say. It requires such a micro viewpoint rather than the macro viewpoint. The macro viewpoint is very boring here. Bitcoin is a new thing. It's exciting. If you're hearing about it now or hearing about it for the first or second time, you haven't bought it yet, it's still exciting. It's exciting to you at 19K as it was exciting to me at 150 or as exciting to someone else at $5. The Bitcoin fever is the same throughout the years. And it reminds me a lot of something like Mad Magazine or Peanuts cartoons, Charlie Brown. They're just always popular. People always like Mad. They always like Peanuts. I think they always like comic strips in general. But Bitcoin is cool, man. And you're hearing about it now and you watched it on CNBC, or maybe it's a lot of the times with these all-time highs, we get all the people from high school and all the people you ever met calling you about Bitcoin. So that's about to happen to everyone in the audience and everyone in the chat. But yes, it's the same story. So I don't know how to make that exciting and interesting for you. But if I say tomorrow we're going to be on a 7 and we might go down, and the next day we're on a 9 and we're going to go up for sure, I'm delivering actionable information that lets you play this fun gambling game, presumably with better skill than the other players. However, the long view just keeps winning. The long view of it looks really good. And especially the other part of that is when everyone thinks it's good and going up, that's also a good time to sell just a little. This idea of protecting yourself, going 90-10, 70-30, not going 100%, 0%, 100%, 0%, 100%, 0%. That's the most dangerous, the most fun way to trade. But really, even if you have a smaller investment like $1,000 or $100, putting it into $10 piles, putting it into $100 piles, letting them all go out separately in different investments and strategies, it's probably a better bet. But let's see.
We have Dan Williams saying, I've heard nothing about proof of keys day. Of course, this is the day where everybody withdraws their Bitcoin from exchanges. And I think it's January the 1st, I think, or something like that. It
was the day of one of the large crashes. It was well timed with one of these large crashes. And then it was a historical reminder that you should hold your own Bitcoin because who knows about these exchanges, especially now PayPal, you can't even take your Bitcoin out of there. Cash App, you can. What's interesting about Proof of Keys Day is that belongs to someone else that Josh, that my brother and I were talking about this morning, Trace Mayer.
Trace Mayer, man, where is he?
Disappeared from Bitcoin.
Yeah.
So that's probably why Dan's not hearing about it, is because Trace isn't there waving the flag. I don't know. I kind of like Proof of Keys Day. It kind of, some people when they talk about it, it's like, let's have a run on banks day, which is like fun, but it's just a stress test for all the banks, and they could prepare in advance, I guess, and we could all pretend they're solvent. But yeah, I don't know about the whole stress testing a bank every year thing. That's stressful.
As running an exchange, one of the things that sucks about Proof of Keys Day is the day that it's on, the 3rd of January. We're running a skeleton crew at that stage because everyone's on holiday. And it's kind of, I really like the idea. I just wish it wasn't right on the holiday when there's so many people gone, because exchanges shouldn't have it so easy to get stuff off of cold storage into hot storage. It should be a very hard thing to do, because you don't want it to be easy. You don't want it to be semi-cold storage. You want it to be cold as hell. Well, cold as hell's pretty hot, I guess.
Not cold as Mark Carpella's cat. That's too cold. A little less cold than that. Oh, too soon.
So I wish it was on a slightly different day. But I also think that that Proof of Keys is kind of there should be a better way of doing it, rather than proving that, exchanges should be able to prove that they've got access to the keys.
Well, there was, and we talked about this. It's so funny, Josh. These ideas, they come back in this big circle with Bitcoin. I remember in 2013, Kraken was saying that they were going to be a provable reserve. That they were going to release. No one wants to say exactly what their cold storage strategy is and how it's hosted, because they worry that revealing that could reveal some of the security. But Kraken had a plan. They were going to obscure it, all these things, so that you could say, let's say they have 20 Bitcoin or 2,000 Bitcoin these days or whatever. You could confirm that they had that. It's provable. It's doable. No one mentions it. No one's gotten close to it. I don't think, other than some little marketing stuff, that it's that valuable. I mean, it is an infrastructure. You can trust it. But
we, Peter Todd and Gregory Maxwell made had a really good system for proving proof of reserve. The thing was, it was a cryptographic system using Merkle hashes to prove that everyone has the amount of money that they have, and that you can show the cold wallet address, or you don't even need to show that. But for grandma, it was kind of hard because you go click and you get a green tick. Yep, we're provably in reserve, and it's like to actually use that, the grandma would have to understand what's going on. And so what we did at Vaultoro, we changed that up a bit to make it a bit more crack smoking grandma friendly, and basically what we do is we give everyone an anonymous ID and then list every anonymous ID, how much Bitcoin they've got, how much gold they've got, and then they can sum up everybody's holding. That's all published, so we don't know that they're checking. They can see, okay, that's how much Bitcoin I've got. Yep, but they don't know I'm checking, so it's right. And then they can sum up everything, and then they can check the cold storage addresses, which we publish. We're about to release that at the end of this week, re-release it. We had it for a very long time in Vaultoro 1. We've just been doing other stuff, but we will be putting the Glass Books protocol, we called it, back up hopefully by the end of the week. But this is just another way of proving that you've got keys. And I really want people to use exchanges that do stuff like this, because the more we trust exchanges, and who was here, Dan Williams is spot on. It's a stress test for the community to see if they can actually hold their own Bitcoin. And this is so important. As we grow into the wider normie community, as we grow into the less technocratic community, we want people to be able to learn how to hold their keys. Make sure you send, and it's not just keys, like let's learn how to use the Lightning Network, because what will happen is if we keep on going with just the on-chain education, we will run out of capacity, and it'll become very ugly, and people will just flood out into all the other alts, which is also fine. Like let's see who wins this game, but part of the game, part of this whole thing for Bitcoiners is to educate people on how to use the Lightning Network. Ben, of course, does an amazing job. He's trying to get this chatbot going. You trying to get that going now, Ben? Which is running on the Lightning Network, by the way, folks. That's why I bring it up.
I'm failing miserably. All I'm trying to do is get like it's pretty pathetic, really, just to get the chatbot in our chat to display a QR code. Like, how do I get it to display a QR code without sharing the whole screen? What have you any ideas using Jitsi? How are you doing your background? Are you putting it through OBS?
I'm putting it through XSplit.
XSplit, and that means you can add the back.
Do you have a background?
Live streaming is on.
I don't think you can. I don't think you can in Jitsi.
They have a blur your background motive, but they haven't copied the whole Zoom background.
I could print out the QR code and then just put it in front of the camera, but I know that's the easy option. I don't want to do that. I want to do the hard option.
That sounds like a good option. Just print it out and put it in front of the camera. You've already found the solution. You weren't even asking us for anything, or put it on a tablet and hold it in front of the camera. You have other screens.
Let me go to the printer.
All right, Ben's going to come back. We're going to check in with the chat again. Thanks to everybody for liking this show. Be sure to subscribe down below. This is the World Crypto Network. We've been making Bitcoin and cryptocurrency related videos since 2014. Actually, in February, we'll celebrate our 7th anniversary in February. So let's check it out. Some more chats. 40 to 50K is a sweet 10x from the 2019 low. I'll sell at those prices. Rolando Tech says. The P-Man says he hodls only. Hoot and Pie has been hodling since he had hair. That's a long time for us, huh, Josh? Yeah, we go way back. I'd have to
I had such
time
a
travel.
massive mop when I first got to Bitcoin, and now it's just all gone.
It was all the worry.
That's why I need to learn just to put away the price. Exactly what Ben said. I didn't know that we were at all-time highs until I got the ping from you saying you're doing this all-time high show. I'm like, oh, we're at all-time highs. Yeah.
We almost even went live. Like I rolled out of bed and I was like, it's gonna break it. It's gonna break. I should do it now. Do it now. And I was like, no, wait till people wake up. Wait till people are awake is a better time.
Yeah.
So let's see what else they say here in the chat. YPay he needs to sell for the Lambo. It's interesting. Last time, if you sold at the peak and bought a Lambo, and then it went down and then it went up, you could still sell the Lambo and maybe get close to the amount of Bitcoin that you sold for the Lambo. So Lambos do hold their value pretty good when Bitcoin's crashing. But the problem is when Bitcoin's going the other way, then you'll wish that you didn't buy the Lambo. So it's very strange to have met a lot of people in Bitcoin, and a lot of people want to own a house. I'd like to own a house. But then there's other people who are like, yes, I sold my Bitcoin early and I bought a house, and now all I have is a house. So you have to think about both sides of this. Also, previously, the world was more open up and you could travel and there wasn't a pandemic. Now the world seems to be closing down. So maybe a large house that you can stay inside and you don't have to go out into the pandemic world is a pretty good idea. That would be.
In these moments when the governments of the world are printing money like crazy to try and outprint each other so they don't get left behind in a print madness, it is a good time to take out credit. It's a very, very good time to use some of the Bitcoin as collateral and buy a house, get into debt, because the debt gets printed away over time. So, I just wouldn't get into debt of crypto, because crypto goes up.
As much as debt might be a good risk and all that, I do like the idea of not paying rent. I have this kind of romantic idea where I keep my stuff somewhere and I don't pay monthly rent.
Yeah, I mean,
that seems dreamy to me. Yeah,
that's the thing. Property tax. Do you really own your house if you're paying property tax? That's the question that all us
you own it more than you do in England or Canada, where the Queen secretly owns all the land.
Yeah.
You still have to pay the property tax. In California, they've kind of it's unfair to the schools and the rest of the system, but they've rigged it so it's low. So that is one thing. But I just paying the tax every year, it doesn't sound so bad. Paying the rent every month, that sounds like a lot of work.
Yeah.
Let's see what else they say in the chat. The Winkle Bro have a target of 500,000 for this cycle. So, come on, I don't know. It seems really high to me. Philip's worried it might be a taxable event. I'm sure you can find a way around that, but I suggest that everyone should pay their taxes. Don't mess around. If you don't pay them, they'll charge you fines and fees. So it's always my goal to pay as much as possible, or to pay the accurate amount, right?
Yeah, you don't want to pay as much as possible.
Not as much as possible, but I want to pay my fair share as well. So I'm not against government. But again, you can have your own views on that.
I am.
There you go. See, and that's the other thing, Josh. You should see these negative comments we get on the Bitcoin group. They're like, this show is so liberal, blah, blah, blah. Meanwhile, we have Josh who says anything he wants about, libertarians and values, whatever you want. You're not held back at all. And still, it's probably the most libertarian show on television because of that, and because of other people who come along from time to time with libertarian values and ideas. But no, I just think you have to be more open to different ideas and to watch things you don't agree with sometimes. But let's get some more comments from the chat. KB says that Peter Schiff's tweets are hilarious. Bitcoin is making him bipolar. So then once again, as bad as it's been, if you went up and down and you have less, or you just, didn't invest at the right times and all that, you could be someone like Peter Schiff, who people have been begging him to get into Bitcoin. Max Kaiser probably offered him Bitcoin at $1, all that kind of thing. And still, he's not into Bitcoin. He's made a living out of being against it.
Look, I would have to say, I've known Peter for a long time, and he's not a dumb guy. He's using this just like Tone Vase is a full-on maxi. I'm sure Tone's got some shit coins lying around somewhere. Like, I cannot believe that you wouldn't, Peter Schiff knows that every time he tweets about the negatives of Bitcoin, he knows he's going to get action. Like, this is his modus operandi. This is his way of getting marketing. He's never got so much traction and so much engagement in his tweets ever since he's been attacking Bitcoin. It's a typical sort of wrestling match thing. You've got to have the anti-hero. I don't buy the fact that he's that daft. I mean, you only need to rub a couple of brain cells together. Even if you are a bear, if you're totally against Bitcoin, once it goes down, you can be like, see, I told you so. And then it goes back up to the same levels, which it has done every single time. And
see,
like,
and now, Josh, you've ruined me. I've got a new idea. I was like, instead of doing mad Bitcoins, well, first for a while I thought I should have done mad Litecoins. That would have been smart. But if I had done like, Bitcoin suck the show and just negatively reported on it as it went up and up and up, and just the whole time been like, I hate this so much, and somehow managed to do it with a straight face. I could have been something, but I love the idea of playing the villain. I love just the Andy Kaufman wrestling, all that kind of just, he's a bad guy and we hate him. And at the same time, the bad guy's sitting there behind his mask laughing at you. He can do whatever he wants in his private time. No one knows Peter Schiff's true holdings or his actual values. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. It's he's the anti-hero of Bitcoin. And the fact of the matter is, gold and Bitcoin, it's the same with a Grayscale saying drop gold, buy Bitcoin. It's a ridiculous notion. Gold and Bitcoin, of course, it's coming from me, the gold Bitcoin exchange guy. But at the end of the day, they shouldn't be fighting. They're friends. They're rare assets. The real enemy is fiat. The real enemy is money printing and value printing out of nowhere. Is grandma over in Malta working her ass off and all her life, and then suddenly the bank just taking everything because and it's gone, or the government printing everything away like they have in multiple countries. In South America, it's going crazy now with the printing. South America, let's talk about North America. I mean, 20% of all US dollars that are floating around right now have been printed this year. I just think about that for a second. This year, the first trillion to be printed took 300 years, and this year they printed 3 trillion. I mean, it's insane. It's insane. So, guys, we really need to understand that rare assets, and this is why Wall Street's getting into it now, because they're going, we're in the black numbers. We should probably put some of that into some rare assets, because this is going south. And everyone's chasing their tail. We've got America printing their value away to basically stay afloat. We've got Europe going, America's printing it. We better stay up, because the more the Forex market chase each other, they don't want to drop away. So they got to print themselves to also stay relevant in that ridiculous market. And it's really time to get into rare assets. And this notion that Bitcoin and gold people should be fighting, they should be absolutely cherishing the fact that they're outside of the nonsense that is fiat.
I agree with that, Josh. They're definitely fine. And yes, rare assets. The problem for Bitcoin is that when Bitcoin's going up and when the banks are getting worried about Bitcoin and all these things, people are freaking out. It's bad for the rest of the world. Societal collapse, which fortunately, unfortunately, depending on how you want to see it, seems to be happening everywhere. And that's always good for Bitcoin. So this is one of those up and down melancholy moments where you like civil society, you like being able to walk down the street, get a donut, go to a library, see some park, all these kind of things. That might not be there anymore, but the price of Bitcoin will go up a lot. So, it's ups and downs, right? Yeah. But let's check out some more of the chat, see what's been going on. Get the screen share here. Mightiest Helmut says, do any of the podcast guys follow Max Kaiser? For me, he has been the one true voice of crypto for a decade. Bitcoin Club Malta adds that Max is a hero, certainly. And I agree with that. I really like Max Kaiser. We've been following since the beginning. We got to meet him a couple times and do a short interview. So that was really neat. And Max is one of those he's been so right on this since the beginning. He's got all the stories now of begging people to take it at $1, begging people to take it at $10, $100, $1,000, now $10,000. I guess he's going to be begging people to take it at 100K. But yes, Max Kaiser's really done a great work for Bitcoin. A couple of Oh, once again, everyone's so critical and they want to destroy their heroes. So I don't want to miss out on the chance to get in on that internet action. But no, Max has had a couple of ups and downs where he supported Quark or where he supported Max Coin, which many people thought he owned and was in charge of because of the name. It was actually just a new algorithm or something, just happened to be named Max. I don't know what happened there. But yeah, so everyone's had up and downs in this business. Everyone, is not a true hero or a complete perfect white knight and all that. But no, I think Max Kaiser, all in all, has been a great hero for Bitcoin and done a lot for the scene. There's also, we're coming to it now in the chat. I'm not going to quite highlight it correctly, but we were talking a bit about Trace Mayer. And I just want to say Trace is a cool guy, and Trace should be back in Bitcoin. I'm disappointed that he's not tweeting. To refresh anyone on what we think the story is, no one truly knows, but Trace went to Tone's conference last year in Las Vegas. He was walking around talking to the Bitcoiners. We did an interview with him right here on the World Crypto Network. You can check that out below. And Trace was having a good time. Everything was fine. It got a little strange. Some of the people said that Trace tried to give them a little flyer about Mimblewimble, heading to a strange website that seemed to be predicting that Mimblewimble would go up and saying that you should buy something like that. The flyer wasn't well produced. The website wasn't well produced. No one really understood. And to this day, no one really understands why Trace was doing that. Maybe Trace bought a lot of Mimblewimble and needed it to go up. I don't know why he would try to sell it to Bitcoin people at Tone's conference. These are the hardest people in the world. I wouldn't try to sell them an altcoin any day, even if I was Trace Mayer. No one knows if he had like too large of a bag of something or if he overinvested, underinvested. Maybe he was never well off. No one knows. But the strange thing that happened after that conference and after those videos and those accusations from the community is that Trace completely disappeared. He hasn't tweeted in a year. He hasn't said anything about Bitcoin, even now at the all-time high. So I don't know why that is. Maybe he feels he was caught. Maybe he was a fraud the whole time. No one knows. But he was a well-spoken Bitcoin advocate. He's a lawyer. He did a lot of great videos and podcasts back in the day. And I would like to see Trace back with us. I forgive Trace for talking about Grin or whatever it is. It doesn't really matter to me. He should be able to tweet. A lot of people like altcoins and things. So yeah, that's the Trace story. I don't understand it. Josh, what do you think about Trace?
No, totally. Like, what? There's nothing to forgive. You can talk about any coin you want. What the hell? People are just so freaky about all that stuff. I mean, what the hell? I used the initial Armory back in the day. It was the first sort of really strong wallet. Of course, it's not around anymore, but Trace has added a lot to this community, and I don't know. I mean, people talk about maximalists and this sort of thing. I think it's silly because people should be able to talk whatever. It's all just technology, guys. It's all technology, and of course, there are scams out there, and you should call them out. But I think there's a difference between scams like OneCoin or BitConnect or something like that, and then some crazy wacky idea about a blockchain that the people are really starting to wanting to build. And I remember when our company, when Volturi went to Techstars, one of the things the Techstars guys said was, "What's the difference between a con artist and what's the difference between a con artist and an entrepreneur?" And really, the difference is the con artist really doesn't ever have any intent on building the thing that they're trying to raise before, and the entrepreneur actually wants to build the thing. That's not to say that it might not work. Might not work. A lot of people that invest in startups, angel investors, they see that startups fail all the time because the market didn't want it or it didn't work or whatever. So I think a lot of people are just too harsh on some of the tokens out there. I know that's very going against the grain of a lot of Bitcoiners, but I think there are things to be said about certain projects, and people are trying really hard. And some people
see, Josh, they like you because you're a libertarian, but now they hate you because you're a multi-coiner. You've destroyed all of your good libertarian cred. We'd like to welcome Adam Meister to the show. How's it going, Adam?
Pound that like button. I'm pretty excited. there's like big news today or something like that. We're talking about multi-coiners, Bitcoin Inquisition. You got to be careful about the Bitcoin Inquisition. If you start talking about altcoins, they might come after you. Be real careful. But hey, it's awesome. Today's great. All-time high, right? That's why we're having a show. I'm really excited. And hey, man, I always say one day closer to an all-time high. I guess we're there today. And all you strong hands, it really paid off, didn't it? I mean, I told you, just buy and hold. I mean, we're living it now, so it's good. It's good. Let's. This is only the beginning. That's the attitude to have. This is only the beginning of what's going on. So hello,
I
everyone.
agree, Adam. The buy and hold, the simple strategy. You didn't have to time the ups and the downs. You didn't have to stay up all night. You just took a little extra money. You put it in this thing that Bitcoin, which was a new thing that a lot of people don't know about. Even now, there's people in the chat saying, there are hundreds of thousands, millions of people that don't know anything about Bitcoin. They're still going to get into it. They're going to have the same feelings that we did. They're going to be like, that's obviously a scam. I'm going to make a copy of that, and then I'm going to have more Bitcoin. And, all these other ideas that you have when you get into Bitcoin, or, Satoshi's going to come back and take all the money away.
Yeah.
You're an idiot. Everyone has these thoughts, and you have to work through them. And eventually you come back and you're like, damn, that thing's more than it was before. I better buy some and see how it goes. And even then, you don't have to put your whole stack in. You don't have to sell your house. You don't have to get all crazy and eat only top ramen. Investing on the side is fine. Like, there's a little profit here, a little profit there. And meanwhile, we get this incredible monetary system with Bitcoin and the Lightning Network.
Oh, we got Ben. Ben is split off into two.
Wait, what happened to the sound there? Thomas is cut. It's just his sound came out there. Well, anyway, we've all lived. Lots of us have lived through an all-time high before. I welcome everyone to this realm. It's very exciting, this bull market. A lot of you weren't around in 2017. Now you get to live it and you get to love it. It's exciting. Or, I mean, you can FUD and talk about quantum computing and all that. It's all cyclical. It's what Thomas was just saying. Why can't someone print up 1 million of them? Or there's all these altcoins out there. And you just got to have a strong hand through all that. And we had a strong hand through all. I mean, I did at least. I mean, this is a time to savor that moment in 2018 when it crashed down to 3,000 and everybody said Bitcoin was dead. And now look how easy it was to make it through there, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I mean, it's easy for me.
And it is cyclical. We saw it from even $1 to 30 and then crash down. And I've got a video actually of people saying, yeah, but it's $30, it's crashed back down. It's on YouTube. And I'm like, no, don't worry about it. It's going back. And then 100 and crash back down. And then 1,000 and crash back down. And then 3,000 and crash back down. And then 20,000 back down. So it's just, hello.
It's Thomas's mic is having some issues.
I think it's
there.
Ben's mic there. I muted Ben. I think I'm back, but yeah.
Okay, Thomas, you're back.
But Meister, you're spot on. It's cyclical. It always is, and it's always fun to ride these ups. And remember to enjoy the time, because people really stress out a lot on the way down. So take that moment to party. Take that moment to congratulate yourself on managing to hold at least some.
But also remember this moment for when it's $50,000 and it crashes down to $30,000. Like, to not, we go through these roller coasters. There's big drops. They're bad days. But in the end, if you're patient, if you have long-term thinking, we've always returned to an all-time high. That is the rule. That is every all-time high we've come back. Now we've come back to the previous one. So just it help keep you calm in the future, just remembering this day.
Yeah. And like a lot of people saying here, this is, institutional money's coming in and all this stuff. But apart from all this money coming in, we need to continue building. We need to continue hacking away and creating software that's usable, software that makes this thing usable. This is why the Lightning Network is so super important. that it becomes, because as much fun as hodling is, it's also really fun using digital currency. It's really fun paying it. It's when I had the aha moment, and many people that I got into Bitcoin had the aha moment. I could tell them all there is about it, but it was when they first received that Bitcoin, when they got the number going up on their phone, and then they got the number going down when they sent it again. That was when they went, whoa, what, there's no company behind this? This is, oh, wow, that's crazy, you know, and that's what we need to keep inspiring.
There's no office. There's no. Yeah, I've gotten that one before too. Now I want to ask the panel a question here, because we're living through good times here. Now, last time we were living through good times, back in early 2017, there was a threat to Bitcoin, and this is cyclical too. There's always going to be threats. People trying to have the next Bitcoin. We were joking about altcoins when I joined, but what do you guys think? We had the scaling debate back in 2017 when Bitcoin was getting to new all-time highs. Are we going to have a debate here, a privacy debate or a KYC debate? It seems like that's what's been in the news lately. We had people saying, it's all right if it's totally corporatized, and I mean, I forgot what Rob Paul said, but I mean, is there going to be another attack on Bitcoin and during this glorious year that we're about to enter? Is that also cyclical? And what do you expect it to be, if anything?
Well, I think there will be another attack on Bitcoin, or another discussion, and it'll probably be about privacy. It'll probably be a privacy debate with all of these new hodlers that everyone celebrated on one side. There'll be the bankers, the hedge funds, the institutions, all the people with tons of money who have now invested that tons of money into Bitcoin. And what they're going to say is, keep everything the same. Don't change anything in the software. We made all this money. It's a store of value. Don't do anything. And they're already started a few weeks ago. One of them was saying Bitcoin didn't even need to be a currency. You didn't even need to send it around. It could just be an imaginary item on your computer. No one seems to know what Bitcoin is, and they don't know what to do with it. So yeah, I think we're going to fight about privacy, and it'll be just like last time. The users in the street, the corporations on the sideline. We're also joined by Vesa, Bitcoin artist. I want to welcome Vesa to the chat. How's it going, Vesa?
Good to see you, brother. Very, very well kept and keeping busy. I'm just painting the last painting. I'm off to Dubai on Wednesday to the Future of Life conference, and they kindly sponsored me over, as well as there's going to be a keynote and an exhibit. So it's my first time in Dubai. I can't wait to go and share a couple of things. And there's one thing in particular that I'd like to talk about, but I don't want to screen grab too much time just saying hello. So hey man, good to see you. And
well, it is the Bitcoin all-time high, so we're all celebrating here today. That sounds like a fantastic trip to Dubai. Completely foreign, alien culture, very different, and a lot of great tall buildings there too. They're magnificent builders. So be sure to check that out for me.
Yeah, man, it's a little bit it's strange because I've been to Vegas so much lately, and it's the other oasis built into absolutely that sprung up an incredible wealth sparkly thingy, which is like of biblical proportions of sort of, what would you say, these illusions that you have to see through in order to get to the real value of it, and not get succumb to the weirdness of it all, and some temptation. So let's see how I'll do.
It sounds like a mirage. There might be a mirage out there. Let's go to Ben. Ben, do you think there's going to be a fight over Bitcoin in the future? Adam says when we have a period of great up, then we have something like scaling that's going to cause a fight, and then like last time, another split. Do you think there'll be a fight? What do you think there'll be a fight about?
About pretty much anything and everything. There can be a fight over. It's free and open source software development, and people can fork if they want. But more and more people are talking less about, shitcoins and forks, and they're more understanding that yes, Bitcoin struggles to scale on chain, but that's for a very good reason. But that doesn't mean that we can't have fast throughput transactions on a side chain, for example. So all the great work which has been done on side chains is kind of proving those use cases, and liquid networks up and being very stable and moving a lot of value around through its liquid Bitcoin. So I want to see more exploration of side chains to be able, because I mean, the promise of a side chain is it can pretty much do anything you would want an altcoin to do anyway, and you've got the added security of it being pegged to the Bitcoin blockchain. So yeah, there'll be an argument over absolutely everything, which there can be an argument over. I mean, the miners aren't really kicking up much of a fuss about Taproot, but they weren't with SegWit to begin with. So we'll see how that goes through, and whether it will go through without any hiccups. Obviously, then we get some great privacy enhancements on Bitcoin. So the software keeps developing, keeps getting better. The biggest thing which we're going to have to address at some point is true fungibility and privacy on Bitcoin, which will have to happen. That's the goal, isn't it? Is you make transactions as private as possible, but by making them more private, it makes it harder to then verify that there are 21 million Bitcoins in the system. So how we get to that point, I don't know. And I think there will be a point where it will need to be 100% fungible without any mixing, trickery, an expectation, just as a standard default on Bitcoin. And that will cause a lot of rifts, I imagine, because some people will say, well, no, it's more important that we can see that we aren't inflating Bitcoin. And then other people will say, no, actually, it's way more important that it's actually fungible and can be used. So, yeah, I think that'll be the next big split. But maybe we can work out some amicable, easy way of addressing that issue. Obviously, you going on side chains, you gain some privacy from that. So that could be another argument, that if you want actual true fungibility and privacy, then maybe you should be on Lightning anyway. You shouldn't be on the main chain. So, but yeah, there will be more splits. But the economic incentive to split is clearly not there when you look at Bitch's price and bullshit verified. Like clearly, there's not much of an incentive financially to fork, or as much as incentive as there was before, for miners and for everyone who has to be involved in order for you to have a successful split. Sorry, not fork.
All right, just like to ask everyone to keep giving us a thumbs up down below. We have 77 current viewers and 44 current likes. So I'm only looking at 33 of you. Vesa, what do you think about Bitcoin in the future? Are we going to have a fight? Is it going to be over privacy? What do you think?
Are we going to have a fight? Yeah, that much I've learned in my short or long 3.5 years in Bitcoin. There's going to be a fight, and that's a great thing. I don't know if I have anything like too substantial to say to that, but I do have one thing that I recently completed that I would like to pick your brain on. Actually, all of you, because I'm not 100% sure whether this is true or what of it is true or what. But basically, I was commissioned by an OG, a very knowledgeable one, and someone who's no joke in real life, to make a painting. And essentially, it was 10 hours of conversations of these very heavy downloads about the history of Bitcoin and all that it was designed for, and sort of insider information into. Because basically there was a lot of very decoded stuff that was said, but in one way what he said, two things that were very, very interesting. First off, that he said that Bitcoin was almost founded as a type of belief system first, even before it was a technology, and it was birthed out of 8 different points of view, and there was economics, biology, sociology. There's what else was there? There was psychology, all these different things that were the 8 different points of view that birthed Bitcoin. And you don't have to be a rocket scientist to kind of infuse from that what he meant was 8 different individuals. So essentially his claim was that Satoshi was 8 individuals who were all geniuses and experts in their own fields, and that's why the whole sort of plan that spans as long as Bitcoin has, and how many different things it's had to overcome in order to become the success that we know today and hit these all-time highs, has now transformed into this art piece. And I'm just wondering if anyone else has heard any of those kinds of rumors or murmurs that it would be a group of individuals, and maybe this was the way that it came about.
Well,
There's a great
sounds
Tim May
fantastic.
interview.
Oh, let me go first. Eight sounds fantastic. And what's great about that, you can do an octopus. So you can do like an octopus attacking thing, and there's lots of octopus stuff there. We've talked before about maybe having 3 different Satoshis, an older one, a younger one for the coding, and maybe like a philosophical one or an out of left field kind of Satoshi. But Ben, you had more to go on this. Go ahead, Ben.
No, there's a great Tim May it's not an interview, it's a talk he did streaming from California, I think. I can't remember. You'll have to just Google. Yeah, I could actually look it up and try and find the YouTube link and send it to you, in which he talks about the first cypherpunk meeting, of who was there, that Hal Finney was there, and who else were there. And he said that the people who went on to make Bitcoin were also in the room at the time. And that was that first cypherpunk meeting which they had. So obviously they the cypherpunks were where Bitcoin most probably came from, because the mailing list is where it was first dropped. And they would have very likely been someone like Nick Szabo or Hal Finney, and I think both of them were in the room at the time in that first cypherpunk meeting. But that was the first bit of evidence I found where there was actually someone who was there historically who would have no reason to lie.
Well, I love the idea
saying that it was
there
more
being
than one person.
I love the idea of there being a meeting and all these people coming together, because it reminds me of the Sex Pistols' first concert, and it was held in like a gymnasium or something. And everyone in the crowd went on to become a famous musician, like New Order is there and Joy Division and all these other famous bands are there. And then there's Dave the postman. He's a postman. So I love it if there was a big meeting like this. Let's get Adam back involved here. Adam, what do you think? Is there 1 Satoshi, 3 Satoshis, 8 Satoshis?
I think the 8 thing, we're really complicating matters there and making it philosophical and psychedelic all at the same time. There could be a group. It's cyclical. The rumors about who's Satoshi, they seem to pop up in a cycle also. And I try not to worry about it or talk about it at all, because the more we talk about it and worry about it, the more fakers that come out of the woodwork and take advantage of everybody's curiosity about it. So this bull cycle, we're going to have another guy that comes out that says that there'll be some other complicated story about how I'm the real one, or I'm a member of this group that was. I would say it's interesting. It's fun to have stories and everything, but if we talk about it too much, if we worry about it too much, it just creates this open place for these fakers to come in and really cause trouble. I mean, one of them, the last time around, he created his own coin around him. So, you can really take this far when you're pretending to be Satoshi. It's no one person is bigger than Bitcoin, not even Satoshi. And I think that's a good way to think about this. So yeah, it might have been a group, it might have been a person. The person might be deceased. Who knows? I try not to worry about it too much, because it only pedestals this legendary Satoshi and gives a platform for people to pretend to be him.
Another great thing here, Vesa, is that your OG might have made his money on altcoins. There's always that possibility. He's just pretending to be a Bitcoiner now. I just want to remind everyone to keep giving us those thumbs up. Maybe you just came in right now. We have 49 likes, so we're 1 like away from 50 likes, which, like you heard earlier, is a big round number, and that's all people are into. We also have 88 live viewers, so say hello in the chat, put your opinion in there, and maybe we'll get to 100, which is also a big round number. So what do you think, Vesa? 8 Satoshis, 3 Satoshis? Do we need more Satoshis?
Well, the one of the very first art pieces, because I'm going with what Adam was saying, it actually, I really like the idea that I have been in touch with someone who feels like they have sort of integrity by the truckloads, and the amount of stream of consciousness in these 10-hour conversations was just something where you get to decipher whether someone's full of shit or not. And then whether that's modeled by something or not, obviously I'm not making any claims or whatever, but it felt like this might be one of the ways that a part of it at least came to be. And if it's not, I'm still not sure whether it's 1 or 8 or something, but out of the decoding of everything that was said, that was the conclusion that I came, that this would have been 8 individuals, and this is how it made sense. And if that should be the case, and it's now recorded into this art piece that I made, that's a really cool thing. But going along with Adam, what he was saying is that one of the first art pieces I made was I am Satoshi Nakamoto. And essentially it's a coder that you can see through the face of into this whole world that is filled with people who are now utilizing blockchain technology and Bitcoin all over the world, who need it, who are part of demonstrations and all different kinds of things all over the world, because that is essentially the best question about who is Satoshi is how am I, Satoshi, utilizing the technology? Because who gives a fuck eventually? If it works, it works, and we should be very grateful that it's here. And I definitely am. I mean, it's changed my life entirely, it's I'm not a maximalist. I may be called a centrist, but I certainly have the utmost respect for Bitcoin, and that's how I always approach this space. And it's yeah, that's it.
The talk by Tim May was the HCPP 2016, and it's called 30 Years of Crypto Anarchy. But it's a really nice talk, well worth listening to. He helps set that scene, and you can imagine those first cypherpunk meetings where, like Thomas said, there's all these people in the room who went on to do cool stuff. But then he also talks about, how they're goofing about with envelopes, trying to send messages to each other without, revealing who sent the message, and trying to use all these other sort of tools to imagine how you could send data cryptographically. So, I don't know, that it seemed very viable from that Tim May talk. But yeah, have a listen to it. It's great.
Cool. So it's this one. It's like an hour and 15 minutes.
Yeah, that's it.
Oh, cool.
It's got Tim May
listen to it
doing sort of this in the thumbnail, like a gangster, like the gangster he was. God bless him.
Mate.
And as Ben was mentioning there, people that are no longer with us, I'm trying to load the webpage, but it's being frustratingly difficult. But I just wanted to talk for a minute about people that were with us on the last halvening. I'm using an ad blocker. Well, of course I am using an ad blocker. People who are with us on the last halvening who aren't with us on this halvening. And there's a great article in Wired about how the web became unreadable. And we're really experiencing it right now in this little screen. Oh, why can't it just load the article and the picture? All right, that's fine. It's a weird thing. So yes, people who have passed away in the Bitcoin space. Toni Lane Casserly. I knew her. I met her a couple times. Not the best of friends or anything, but it's sad to see her go. She was only 29 years old. She was a blockchain Bitcoin advocate. She was one of the co-founders of Cointelegraph. She went around the world giving a lot of speeches about Bitcoin, and whether they were, 100% correct or technically accurate or any of those things, she believed in blockchain. She believed in Bitcoin. She seemed like a pretty good person. So just a little short farewell. Josh, you knew Toni as well. Do you want to just say just something nice about Toni here as we do some for?
Toni was a crazy girl. She really had visions that were far beyond what most of us would think were sane. And she was an amazing speaker, a very bright girl, a very bright star, and it was just totally tragic. It was a real sad day to hear that. And but we had a really nice funeral for her online. And a lot of people from around the world. She knew so many people. And that's what's so beautiful about the Bitcoin community is that, this is one of the great things I love about Bitcoin as I travel around the world, staying at people's houses and people staying at my place and us all sharing stories. And it really is a community. Of course, in that community is the good, the bad, and the ugly, but a lot of good.
Indeed. And I just think we have to keep remembering these people as time goes forward. Another person that's no longer with us is Tyler Jenks. of lucid investment. Tyler was one of the big propagators of the hyperwave theory. He was an investor in stocks and other things before Bitcoin. He wrote lots of books and articles and things about hyperwave and about investing. And I was fortunate enough to meet him in person at Tone's conference a couple of years ago. We did this little interview here, and as you can see, he was an older gentleman, so it's maybe a little bit less sad than Tony, that was so young, but still sad when anyone passes away. And Tyler Jenks was a Bitcoiner that's not with us anymore. Just want to mention that. And then also, we haven't talked about it very much. It's not a very big story, I guess, but my friend Risto also passed away. Risto was a very early Bitcoiner. In 2014, he cashed out what they say was $1 million in Bitcoin to buy a castle in Estonia that he called the Bitcoin Castle. He was going to turn it into a Bitcoin center. It was called Mala Manor. It was a 600-year-old castle located in Estonia. So just a cool guy, an early Bitcoiner, and he sadly passed away far too young just this year during the 2020 situation. So don't want to get too sad here or anything, but just it's something about these people that aren't with us anymore. And I just want to remember them and let's keep remembering them as time goes forward. And go ahead,
It's
Adam.
also
I want to say it is great to remember the dudes who didn't make it to the halving, to the all-time high and everything. And there was a guy in Los Angeles who was big in the community there that some people knew. His name was Tor, and he found out that he had brain cancer, and he was, when you have brain cancer, it's not too good. He wasn't going to make it, and he didn't make it to this point, which is sad. But one of the things you can learn from something like that is he planned it all out with his family. So the transfer went so easily. So yes, we have lost some people, but from these losses, we can think, none of us is going to last forever. So you plan it ahead, and he really planned it well. It was a complete smooth transfer to the rest of his family and everything like that. So that's a takeaway we can take from this.
Very well said. Actually, Pamela Morgan, she has some really good book about estate planning in crypto. And estate planning in crypto is actually very, very cool because you are using multi-sig, you are using seed phrases, but you need to do it properly so that people can't run away with it before anything tragic happens. But very, very important subject, because most people in the West, they don't like to think about death. They don't like it, and no one does. But there's different cultures actually. It is in their forefront. And, Shakespearean days, they used to constantly think about death to inspire them. That's why they had the skull on the table to I could die tomorrow, so let's write the best thing ever. Stay in tune with your humanity, that you could die, your family ones could die. And the worst thing you want is, imagine all that money that you had can't go to your children, can't go to your loved ones because you were too much of an idiot to think that you will never pass. So yeah, that's definitely well said there, Adam.
It's a good idea. And you also want to make sure, even if you're single, you don't want that money to be never spent. So if you want to cash some out and spend it, buy something nice, it's okay. We give you permission. You don't have to HODL all the time. Checking in with the price of Bitcoin. The price of Bitcoin is up 6.44% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 19,247, a high of 19,844, and a low of $18,033. That's $1 for 5,197 Satoshis. So be sure to give us a thumbs up down below, say something in the chat, and we're just keeping an eye on this. It's down a little bit, but still very much an all-time high.
I'm celebrating for all the Germans out there and the Swiss, a bottle of Glühwein. I mean, I'm not going to drink the whole bottle, but I'm having one glass of Glühwein. It's what you drink over here when it gets cold. It's a hot wine with lots of herbs and spices, and keeps the doctor away as well.
So what do you guys think? How many, this number, something like that, there's already about 4 million Bitcoins that have been lost. So given that if there's many people who don't do these plans before they pass and they have a bunch of Bitcoin, in 10 years, how much Bitcoin have we lost? I mean, people keep saying the 21 million, but if it's already 4 million lost, it's in actuality already 17 million. So maybe it's like 15 million in circulation altogether, or something. It just keeps getting more and more scarce. And there's this insane thing that really landed something home for me, is that how early we are still in Bitcoin. Is that right now, if all the world's millionaires wanted one Bitcoin, that is no longer an option. You can't, that can't happen. So that's an insane amount of value. Like all of these new tokens that keep coming up, we have 4 billion tokens, we have gajillion tokens, and they keep having value. And then juggernaut that maybe is like 16 million left, and it's still, I mean, it's an incredible price, and it's come out of nowhere into where it is now. But in that context, it's an insanely low price.
Yeah. It truly is. And the thing is, it's funny that the 21 million is kind of irrational anyway, to think that, oh, we've got this sort of curve, because at the end of the day, we know that mathematically there will be 21 million and that some will be lost, but you might as well calculate with all that already being out there, because that's what's going to be out eventually. So the price should already take that into consideration. But of course, people are people. But yeah, it's amazing to think that there's so many lost Bitcoin out there.
I think it is probably close to 4 million. And it's insane that people are going to still lose even more. It's just hard to fathom that people do not plan properly. You mentioned something about it being still early, and I agree. It is still early in all this, but we are like 12 years in almost now. And I gotta say, with Michael Saylor and these corporations buying tens and thousands of Bitcoins, that we're not exactly in the same early stage that we were like in 2017. We've moved on the curve some more. I mean, people are still trying to say we're in like the super early adopters. I think we got to speak the truth now. If it's still early, but it's not as early as it was before. I mean, with the whole Michael Saylor thing was a turning point. I think it's definitely a turning point in the progression in the history of this whole thing.
I think what's really changed now is we used to talk about Bitcoins and do you have Bitcoins? And now it's like, you're lucky to have a Bitcoin. The one coiner is much and more a high achievement. And I think the problem, and what Vase is kind of hinting at with the 4 million lost coins, is we're going to go deep into those decimal places, and people's brains aren't good at dealing with decimal places. I think a lot of this is the lack of a decimal comma. I've been arguing for an additional comma, 3 down, 3 down, 3 down, so I could read decimals the same way I read millions or billions. Put some commas in there, make them readable. But the scientists hate that idea. But yes, I think a 0.1, my brother and I were talking about it this morning, at 20K, a 0.1 is $2,000. So if you spent, a 0.1, which used to be $10 or $1 or $100, you spent that. I had a sticker on my car that was worth like 0.2 at one point. So that's $4,000 now. So there's a lot of that out there. But there's going to be more of that, is I think what he's trying to say. What even Adam's saying, we're early, but I think it goes up more. It gets crazier, but not for whole coiners anymore. It's more about, I think Satoshi's is a surprisingly good place to start. Stacking the Satoshis, 100,000, 1 million Satoshis. These kind of things it's better to work up, right, than to work down.
It's nice how the community's naturally shifted on Satoshis as well. It hasn't been some decision made, It was the plebes just starting to, referring to Satoshis as they were playing around with them on Lightning Network. Having, tinkering about with all my bits and bobs, I do tend to burn through quite a lot of Bitcoin just, on experimentation. And it's only Satoshis, I'm like, I'm just only 2,000 sats here, 3,000 sats there, blah, 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 blah. But I know that in the future, I'm going to kick myself, and that's going to be worth, just like the people who experimented back in the day with Bitcoins, when they were building things. And they thought, well, there's no point using testnet. It's only 10 Bitcoin. It's nothing. It's loose change in my pocket, and then that ends up becoming a significant amount of money. So I imagine a lot of those coins which have been lost, a lot of that 4 million, which I probably think is higher, which have been lost, and then people can't move, or it's not lost, it's still there. The people who own it can still look at it, they just can't move it. I imagine a lot of that is people tinkering around and just throwing Bitcoin around willy-nilly, and as a lot of us are doing with Satoshis. So yeah, you have to. That's the problem with this stuff, because it increases in value. You've got to kind of look after the pennies, and eventually they'll be worth a lot more in the future. But I do like the natural and organic shift to Satoshis, because the decimal thing is just really bad UX, terrible.
Well, and let's give a shout out to the spenders. Everyone who spent Bitcoin got us here. Everyone now is like, I'm afraid to spend. I can never spend. You can rebuy after you spend. I mean, as long as you have a job and money and all those things. But to the early people who couldn't buy anything at all with Bitcoin and were so excited to buy alpaca socks. I think they made this farmer that had alpacas. They made him a millionaire, as far as I know. Somebody needs to do an article about that. But yeah, they all bought these socks. They all gambled on Satoshi Dice. A friend of mine spent thousands of Bitcoins on a porn site for no reason. He had a credit card. He had other money. But they were so excited to get to spend this Bitcoin. And that excitement created our community. So without these early spenders, without these early programmers and investors and people who talked about it, even Roger, all these people, we wouldn't be here. Go ahead, Josh.
No, without these early fappers, I was going to say.
They're the heroes out there in the trenches. They're each doing their own job. Maybe not as romantic as we want it to be.
Yeah.
We all know that porn built the internet. Porn built the secure socket layer that we can send credit cards. Porn built streaming video. All these things. Porn. So
it's true. It's true. Even VHS was because of porn.
Sure, they beat Betamax because Beta didn't have porn. Yeah.
So I mean, the world is built on all those horny bastards out there.
All right, I want to say I got to get out of here, dudes. But everybody, we've been waiting for this for a while. But guess what? Later this month, next month, we'll have another all-time high and another all-time high. And get used to it, people. During these bull runs, the all-time high becomes a very common occurrence also. So it's exciting to be here, especially if you made it through 2018 and 2019, those grueling times. It feels so much sweeter when you live through then. So everybody, strong hand. Pound that like button and keep visiting World Crypto Network, the original OG here. This has been here through all the ups and downs, dudes. So thank you, Thomas, and thanks, everyone.
Thanks so much for joining us, Adam. Where can people check you out? Where's the Bitcoin Meister at these days?
Just go to disruptmeister.com or look up Adam Meister on YouTube. New show every day, Bitcoin Meister. Follow me on Twitter at TechBalt, TechBalt. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Adam.
Pound that like button.
All right. Good to see Adam here. One of the original Bitcoin YouTubers, still doing that daily show, still pounding that like button. And it's great. He keeps up at it. I know I did the daily show grind for a long time. That's very hard. I think about getting back into it all the time. And I might too. But it's great to see Adam still out there pounding that like button for all of us. So,
yeah. Word up. Yeah.
I have one thing that I've been mentioning in the last couple of appearances, and knowing that this is at least the Bitcoin centrist one, and sort of with profound respect to Bitcoin, I do have one slight bit of critique towards Bitcoin, if I may, very cautiously, which is that I come from at it from a specifically strange angle, which is that. And it's to do with politics and art. As an artist, basically, many things in the legacy art world were super, because I'm not I haven't picked a team per se. I'm not left or right or whatever. I try and maintain a certain kind of balanced point of view to some things, and then the central banking system versus ideology and those kinds of things. But essentially, the art world very, very heavily leans more and more radical left. And there wasn't that much of a space for me there, even though I wasn't ideologically charged in that way that anyone should have been opposed or pro or this kind of a thing. And when I discovered Bitcoin, there was all of a sudden this explosion of freedom, as in that you could actually say what you wanted to say and you could express yourself. There wasn't like this clear stamp down of everything that wasn't along the sort of approved narrative, so to speak. And then what happened, because when Ethereum came along, and Ethereans are by and large a lot more, or let's say on the progressive spectrum in terms of their politics, as opposed to maybe Bitcoin is a little bit more libertarian. But as all the NFT solutions and crypto art essentially moved to Ethereum and not much innovation happened in terms of art on Bitcoin, then also the ideology and the kind of perception of things started to change. And all of a sudden, now that I realize more and more this keeps happening, that all the art is focused on Ethereum. Basically, if you now go onto the Wikipedia page of crypto art, I mean, there was a bunch of us who jumped in because of the money freedom movement originally into this whole thing. And you could argue it's one of the most important art movements of all time, that all of a sudden you have a legion of artists who are speaking on the behalf of opening up the world's arteries again in terms of a monetary evolution. And now if you go to the Wikipedia page, there's this one guy who upholds it like an absolute Nazi, who basically all the ideology has been washed away. There's nothing, no mention of anything about it being about monetary evolution in terms of topics. It's essentially just a few commercial platforms. And while I love Super Rare, Known Origin, and all the things of what these guys are doing for the space, and it's a liberation of a whole creative class of human beings, essentially, which is at stake with NFTs, which I find really, really important. But it's basically all the artists have been taken away. It's just some commercial platforms and then tokens, and nothing about what the actual idea of it was to begin with. And I find this really dangerous because essentially you could look at Bitcoin art or crypto art as the highest form of public relations that you could be doing for this whole thing. And it's a little bit counterintuitive to think that art would help something, as it's been reduced to this nonsensical sort of red wine drinking, postmodern, very sort of pretentious type of, that's the majority idea of what art is. And Bitcoin art and crypto art to begin with was a salvation. It was like, it truly was a citadel of that. And now it's increasingly, because there is not much support from the OGs, nor is there much innovation in artistic ways in Bitcoin. It's sort of shifting away. And this is more like a call that if there are any people there who somehow can innovate in that segment. I mean, there's some services like Various Art and whatever, but it's essentially making sure that the artists keep creating Bitcoin art and keep remembering why we all came into this space to begin with, is that if there are OGs watching, just pay attention that this is important. This is important that the expression is still out there and keeps evolving and people have opportunity to do so, because otherwise it shifts away from Bitcoin. And I think it's really bad for Bitcoin.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, Vesa. I agree. I've said for a long time that I do think we need a patron. We need a rich Bitcoiner, not me certainly, but someone who could come around and recognize the arts, and I'm including YouTube in there, obviously, plug. But I don't think we have one. I think part of the politics that you've seen in Bitcoin is a lot of libertarians, a lot of individualists, who don't necessarily see the value in becoming the next, not Da Vinci, but De Medici, the next De Medici, the person who goes around spending their wealth on projects that don't bring a return. All the Bitcoiners that I've known who were major investors and so forth, they want a return. They're not in it for your art. So I think that's something that we deal with in Bitcoin. I'm not sure about, you said that politics were accepted here. Maybe if they fit into this more liberty.
Live streaming is on.
That was our hourly Jitsi break, just to remind you to pay the bills. And yeah, so I don't know if they're that accepting of political ideas. We need a patron for Bitcoin. Some of these altcoins, there might be
Pineapple Fund.
There might be more available patrons in the altcoins as they get richer faster. Maybe they want to buy art. Ben wants to talk. Josh is right. We had the Pineapple Fund. Was a very cool Bitcoiner early. went around, gave some grants to BitGive, the Internet Archive.
Jack Dorsey's also got his Lightning Fund as well, where he's trying to fund some design, and he's trying to act like something like a Medici, because I mean Foss software.
I hope so, but I think everyone still wants a return. But go ahead, Ben.
Well, I don't think they do. I mean, they have a whole bunch of graphic designers and UX designers and developers who maybe not so much, like RL art stuff, I suppose, paint on canvas, but they are trying to improve the user experience of Bitcoin, and they are throwing money and grants at I can't remember the name of the Jack Dorsey thing. It's called the Lightning Development Fund. Is that it? Something like that. Because free and open source software always historically has been horrendous and ugly. Look at Bitcoin Core. Look at the state of it. It's awful. It looks horrid. You download it and you think, is this what all the fuss is about, really? You don't really obviously know what's going on in the background, all the magic which is happening in the background, but the GUI's horrible. The Qt. The Qt is ugly. But so yeah, I think Foss free and open source in general has been not against art, but it's a different section of humanity. You have these developers who are very methodical in the way they think, and they're not so interested in kind of interpreting the world through the medium of art, and they don't really recognize the importance of it, which is why so many of them look so bad, and why so much of the stuff they build looks so terrible, but it does this amazing magic underneath. But for real normal people, having a good UX is extremely important. I got a lot of respect for art. I mean, art is when the point in history when we acknowledge humans first thinking as human beings. It's when we first looked around at our surroundings and decided to interpret them on a cave wall. So art is very important, and also for communicating ideas for the to future generations and certain feelings or whatever which are happening at the time. So art is really very important, but there is some movement. Jack Dorsey has got his development fund. I do agree with you that there was a huge shift to the right. I think it was particularly with the release of something like the Bitcoin Standard by Saifedean. A lot of people seem to I mean, obviously Bitcoin comes from quite a libertarian background, but there were within the cypherpunk movement there were some lefties. Looked like Jude Milhorn, for example, who in fact named the cypherpunks. So it's not left or right. It's a protocol. It's like saying email is left or right. It's a protocol. I, as someone on the left, and probably what a lot of people would think of the extreme left, see a lot of value in Bitcoin because it's decentralized decision making by consensus, which is how effective large-scale co-ops would eventually work in the future and be able to outcompete more centralized forms of production. So I'm interested in that. I think there are a lot of people on the left who really just as people like developers, free and open source developers, struggle with acknowledging the importance of art. A lot of where was I going with that? A lot of I've lost my tangent. I've lost my train of thought. But it was I was going to say something profound and good.
Oh God!
Can
hate that.
Can I just say something in between? Just not to add to that, but basically correct one thing, which is that. Thomas, you were saying the same thing as well, is that it's not something that does give you a return. Well, on both accounts, when I did the commission for Tone Vase as well as the Litecoin Foundation commission, on both of those things they generated a bunch of media. We made a bunch of events happen, but they nearly both of them got their money back from what they invested already. And my goal is that very soon, anyone dealing with my art. That's the whole thing of what I've been building for over 10 years, that these are going to return massive gains. I mean, Trevor Jones, I think right now he sold his Picasso's Bitcoin bull painting. He sold it for something like 50K or whatever. And now Jason A. Williams going parabolic, I think he's set it up for sale for about 300 grand right now. And there's requests for that going at the moment. So because that's the whole idea of paintings as well, is that you have a few horses in this race who are going about it very seriously, who are wanting to headline a whole art movement. And essentially, if you look at any of the important movements before, and you had some headliners. Now their paintings go for 100 million plus. And that's the real objective here, is to not only ride one of the biggest monetary waves and make art about it, but also create a bunch of value as we go along. So that's just one thing that I wanted to say, that's the version of this is being just philanthropic and throwing money at something that just generates some publicity isn't the deal. Like that, it's much more than that. So that's just felt important to correct.
Trevor's Bitcoin art take off. I've seen that on the Twitters and stuff. We really didn't have anything like that in previous bull cycles. I mean, Philippe makes some Bitcoin art. We have some T-shirts, and some YouTubers get popular, but not. And his art, I mean, it's actually fine art. It's not just putting a Bitcoin logo in the rest of the art. It's actually thought up and structured, and it's just a very complex.
Oh, so much art is like that. It is like Bitcoin art. It's just like some picture with a Bitcoin logo or an ETH logo, and you just think, that's not Bitcoin art. That's just a picture with a Bitcoin logo in it. And I have seen amazing artists that really integrate the ideas and the concepts and contextualize their artwork. And one thing that I'm interested in your take is, like, there are protocols on Lightning, like RGB, looking at non-fungibles on Lightning. Lightning, of course, is a very difficult protocol to have non-fungible tokens, because when I send you something, I send actually something to Ben sends something to Mad, and then Mad sent something to Vesa. So naturally, a different coin arrives to Vesa than I sent. And RGB hopes to solve this problem, but again, it's late to the game. Ethereum did think of non-fungibles before they had the standards that they did put out there. We did have non-fungibles in the beginning on-chain, but of course that doesn't scale. So I'll be interested to see what the art community. I do think there is a funny thing with art and certain ways of funding art. So, for instance, in Australia, the film industry is purely government sponsored. Everything is government paid for, and every film is so boring because there's the rare film does come out, which is great, but usually they have to have the same quota of the right sexes and the right races, and it's got to have a little bit of this story and that, and it's got to be politically correct, and otherwise it won't get funding. Whereas America has this bastion of, I want to be a film producer. I want to be an executive producer. I'll throw $1 million into that. And you get these crazy films which people produce. Of course, a lot of crap comes out of American film industry also, but there's also some really amazing little small underfunded films that are funded by private enterprise, and they're totally crazy. And I think this is something to do with the different styles of funding. So grants, when it comes to forcing people through taxation to then pay for culture, can have certain outcomes compared to if you have, of course, private enterprise saying, hey, I want to invest I want to be a producer, because they got so much money that they're willing to put stuff into something and hope for a return as well. There is a return, obviously, if some art is good and it's needed and it's watched, and there's business, there's some sort of return in that. But there's also art, culturally wise, a lot of art has historically been around religion, which has basically been the payment. The return has been once you die. That's when the return comes. The threat of once you're dead, you put years of life into sculpting some tiny little, ridiculous rock piece, which took 10 lifetimes. But the artist is hoping, once I die, I'm going to have 60 virgins around me. So look who's laughing now, fools.
Like Bill Murray said in Caddyshack when he was caddying for the Dalai Lama. He didn't give me a tip, but he did say, after I die, I will achieve total enlightenment. So I got that going for me, which is nice.
Hey guys, do you mind if I sort of halfway plug and halfway ask you a question?
Do it. I think you should all the way plug. You've been here like an hour. You deserve a plug. It's fine, man. Go ahead.
Yeah. Well, this is the last thing on art, I promise. But essentially, going about this race and importance, and I couldn't agree with you more. I mean, during last year, crypto art has gotten so much better. I mean, it was just awful, glitchy, something, throw a logo at something, whatever, and it was such a headache. And it was kind of dangerous to say that as well, because then you pissed off a lot of people who were trying to monetize themselves going about it that way, and that was horrific. And finally, those days are done, which is great. But what's happening in January is that we're building a big studio in Helsinki, which is essentially made for my art from floor to ceiling. And it's a big space, and you can go and live inside of art in this space and become art, because one of the things of what I did before I came into crypto art is that I started body painting on people. And one of the projects that I made before was this Bollywood actress, and when I body painted her, we reached a lot of people and we made a bit of a cultural impact. And there was a template on how to do things, which I've been developing and trying to find the next sort of substantial collaborator and bring about, and so that a crypto company or companies, as well as a notable figure, and this whole process comes together. And now we launched a while ago, if you've seen the documentary called The Great Hack, which is on Netflix, with Miss Brittany Kaiser, who's the Cambridge Analytica whistleblower, is now going to be my first guest to come and be body painted and turned into art in the studio in Helsinki at the end of January. And then we'll come to London, New York, and Dubai, and to launch these pieces, which are half these sort of stills pieces, but then we're going to make a bunch of things on video and green screen and special effects and paint and everything, and put together these NFTs as well, to kind of push, because there's so many great things about it, because it's a hotspot with data security and everything that happened politically with her life, her whistleblower status, as well as the big topic of everyone owning their data. And now NFTs is essentially soon coming, the next ICO type of thing. And all of these are kind of coming and converging together in this artistic expression that we're trying to put together and throw out there. So for you guys, as well as the audience or whatever, it would be so great to start to get some suggestions of how you see of what is valuable about this all that could be cool things to turn into art. I'm sort of posing it as a bit of a challenge to the community as well, to kind of help us make this thing as impactful as possible and kind of make NFT history in the making of it, to push it beyond our own bubbles. Because if art has any value, if crypto art has any value, it is to go and sort of reach those people who are not yet in. And I think this is what we can achieve with this Brittany project. And this is why I'm sort of calling for help, essentially.
You could you should add to the space in Helsinki, because obviously you hope to inform through your art and through creativity or whatever. You hope to inform Bitcoin and progress Bitcoin, as a community and as a project, as a software project. So similarly, you should be informed by software which is being developed on Bitcoin. So if you could provide a hack space within your Helsinki project for some Bitcoiners or developers to work, and just a corner with some LEDs or whatever, it could sort of it sounds like a very inspirational environment. Or maybe just a few hot desks where people who are working on projects are welcome to come and just experiment with their shit. I mean, I'm sure there's some cool things being built in Helsinki. Then that'd be I don't know, that might help inspire you to have some ideas, or it might help the developers of those projects and be inspired by the art and the environment which they're going to be working in.
Oh, cool. That's doable. Yeah, great idea.
That'd be cool.
I saw an interesting piece on Helsinki that they're paying people to move there, and that they want to attract new forward-thinking people, and they have like a grant system where you could pay people to move there. So that'd be interesting. Visually and with the art, I don't know, like just offhand, obviously kind of world peace, the Lightning Network. I still think the octopus thing for Satoshi is good, but it's a little creepy. It's a little more negative octopus, like it's grabbing onto ships of dollars and capital and pulling them down. That's
like a big Kraken logo too.
Yeah, well, there's your sponsorship right there. Get the Kraken involved. But no, I don't know. I just think all that kind of ideas. It would be great if we could break through into the mainstream with Bitcoin Bitcoin and Bitcoin art. And I do think maybe having a famous figure in the whistleblowing to kick this off should get some mainstream press interest. And then the other side with these NFTs taking off and becoming so popular and from the media's perspective, so valuable. That should get them in. They love writing about popular, valuable things that people don't know about, even if they're crazy late to them.
Yeah, one thing I would say is that Bitcoin is backed by memes. It's a currency of memes. It's the world of memes. It's been pushed by memes. It really is the currency of meme. And I think non-fungibles work great in that sense. It is a currency that is backed by comedy, by this crazy culture that it's built around it, like HODL and Moon and Lambo. And I mean, Lambo's actually comes from the Ethereum world and then crossed over into the wider crypto world. But there's lots of these funny little cultural differences about Bitcoin and cryptocurrency that is very important, and art is part of expressing those cultural differences, and there's definitely value to that. NFTs. I think what people miss out on NFTs is they give you the right to resell that artwork, and that's sure you can copy any artwork. You can just have a copy of it on your computer and look at it. But I think what people miss is that, hey, I've got the actual ownership of that. Do you want to buy it? And this is still having to be tested. Of course, like you said, Vesa, is that it is already being tested. People are buying these things for like 300K, and because they want to resell that ownership. I'd like to see on a wider case how that plays out. It'll be interesting to see. Very, very interesting. A lot of the art world has been used for, to be honest, for laundering money, to just put it bluntly, because they've what large people have done when they've got a lot of money is they'll buy small artists and then make them popular and then sell them again. And this is kind of how it's worked. So it would work definitely very well for those sorts of people, but it also works for genuine collectors, having NFTs and the ability to resell that painting, to say, here, I've got cryptographic proof of ownership of this painting. The hard thing comes with physical paintings is that all you need to do is change a pixel, which is unseeable by the human eye, and all of a sudden you've got a different private key. And you could say, hey, look, this is the original. Look, it matches the painting. And the unseeing, the untrained eye would look at it and go, oh, yeah, that is the painting. You do have the rights. And they might buy the wrong painting. So I think there's a little ways to go until we can really see the physical paintings. Of course, digital art is different in a way. But physical paintings, I'll be interested to see what happens in non-fungibles and physical paintings.
I like the idea of you touching, obviously, I think one of the more interesting Bitcoin art I've seen is when they've tried to actually put value inside the picture. And to me, I always think of gold, and when people had gold, and when you've got like some sort of bear asset, and in order to secure it, so, your children can have access to it, but other people can't have access to it, invariably you end up, making treasure maps or coming up with some riddles or something which only your family will be able to solve, or, it just kind of makes sense. That's why all those tools were used by pirates or whatever when they were burying their gold, and they only wanted certain people to be able to have access to it. I like the idea of treasure maps, of something in the art which actually can be something of a story to you actually discovering and finding the Bitcoin, whether it's just building the seed through the picture itself or something like that. I did want to touch on the RGB thing. I think an RGB transfer is anchored by a transaction. So if I transfer an RGB token to you, Josh, then it doesn't go. The Lightning transaction goes through the network, but the actual RGB transaction, the actual asset, is just anchored by the transaction. That's how it was explained to me. I still don't really understand it, but I don't think the actual asset itself is going through the network. So that's good. But no, obviously, WCN hosted one of the big innovators in that space, which is Rare Pepe and good God, Theo Goodman. And he was talking about crypto art and digital art and in the meme space, and as a meme, as a joke almost. But I think there is obviously something profound there, which people are beginning to unpick with things on Ethereum, and when it's ready to be used, then I'm sure RGB will be ready for it, for sort of digital assets and what have you. And my other point before, which I didn't get to, was that those developers struggle to see value in art, and I think that because they struggle to kind of see that perspective of the world. Particularly free and open source developers for some reason, and then that's also vice versa. That artists they struggle to understand the technology and why actually Bitcoin, although you can't do quote unquote all these amazing things you can do on Ethereum, actually why it's this much superior technology, and whatever you're building isn't built on sand. So that was the original point which I was going to make, was it's there's some reciprocal understanding which needs to happen between those on lefty artists types and excellent Bitcoin developers, which we have in Bitcoin. So yeah, seeing value locked up in pictures is something which really interests me, whether it's a treasure map or whether it's actual cryptographic value.
I've said this before though on the show, on the World Crypto on the Bitcoin group, is that I see when I moved to Europe, when I moved to Berlin, you see a lot of gypsy musicians. They walk through the neighborhoods and they play music, and people traditionally throw money bags down onto them to catch, and they say, "Oh, thanks," and they play their music. And this is how they made money. And the unfortunate thing is they didn't see the shift in the fact that technology came along and disrupted. They were the music makers. They were the people that brought music to the streets, that brought music into your home. And you would hire them as well to play in your home. But then, the record came along, the recordings, and now we're MP3s and we're drowned in media that's free. And the sad thing is, you look around and a lot of people begging are from these gypsy families who didn't shift to try to change the music, to try and change that skill set into something that the market will pay for. And it's really it's unfortunate, because you have that crossover between culture, which is immeasurable in terms of value, and what someone in their home is willing to throw down and say, well, I could either buy milk or bread, or I could pay this person that's adding some culture. And it's a very, very interesting topic. I feel that what is happening with these non-fungibles is a way to try to find value in this. And I saw here from Dan, he said, I have no idea to value art, so I feel like I can't buy it, or at least not spend too much on it. And I think this is what it comes down to. With all due respect, I mean, I come from a family of artists. My whole family are artists and musicians and such. So I really sympathize. But I think that's in reality the case, that a lot of people look at art and they don't know how to value it. What you do know is you go and you say, wow, that is beautiful. I have to have that. And my limit is here. But then, you have to be in an auction with someone whose limit is way over there. And for the artists, you want to be in an auction house where you have millionaires in the room. Because
but that's what the NFT space has really now changed. If you go to Super Rare or something, you have essentially the all-time sales. You see the secondary market happening all the time. You see it in real time. Now, of course, from an artistic perspective, it's quite troublesome, because a lot of those guys who are buying, they're mainly speculators. I mean, they have the same thing in mind is when they're sort of investing into Ripple. They see it as an investment class now. But all the things that used to, and for thousands of years, have made art valuable, crypto art essentially has it sort of threw away the baby and with the bathwater and shot it with a shotgun as it flew. And now it's sort of reinvented all of this stuff for itself, and it's mostly done by traders and a bunch of others. So in one way, it's really complicated, but it's already shifted in a way that you see the value being exchanged in real time in these tokens, almost in a similar way as you see in cryptos. And these market platforms have been born to facilitate this whole thing. And I don't think many people know just how fast and how far it's gone in the last 6 months, of how many people have made already like a very comfortable living and starting to get into the virtual spaces. And what I kind of argue about the whole thing is that why it's a liberation of the whole creative class is that there's a bunch of people who are designers, some are musicians, some are 3D renderers, some are traditional painters. There's all of them are in this eclectic different kind of mix and sort of just tokenizing their works. And now where I see this going is essentially soon we will be in virtual reality spaces, and everyone needs to decorate their own spaces, and they go to meetups, and you have like, is it Travis Scott, this rapper who just held this 15 million person concert in Fortnite, I believe what it was. So I kind of just realized that, hold on a minute, after a while, there's probably someone who's going to build an art piece inside of which, you know, whoever is the biggest thing is going to have a concert with, and that whole thing is going to be sold in one bundle to some extravagant billionaire. So it's very likely that the most expensive art piece ever sold, it's now still a physical piece. It's I don't know if it's a Van Gogh or, you know, something like that. It's probably going to be a virtual reality piece in 10 years that is going to be the most expensive art piece ever sold. I think that's where we're headed towards. And these experiences that you can build that people can go live inside of and interact with is where art is going altogether, and why these tokens are going, like the early people now and what they're doing of why they can have substantial value. Like you can now still buy pieces, even from me, for 1 Ethereum. It's a limited edition, 1 digitized token thing, but it's nothing. I'm essentially having it there still so that some people can get to hop into the game, and then I have other pieces that really go, you know, more towards the high end of things. So it's. For that, it's definitely early stages, but already it's like it's come very, very far. Even in just 6 months, lots of things have happened, and that's one thing I hope that more people in Bitcoin who might have otherwise problems with Ethereum might pay some attention to as to what's happened to those marketplaces. Because if there was one that I could tokenize on Bitcoin, like I can tokenize on Verisart right now, even digital pieces, and it goes on the BTC chain. But the problem is that there's no marketplace for it. I can tokenize it there and I can tweet about it, but that's about where it goes. There's no ready-made platform with a bunch of buyers and interest that is going to gobble it up as soon as it's put somewhere. So that's a big part of the problem.
Well, Lily Allen refused. She could be a billionaire right now, but she refused a heck of a lot of Bitcoin way back in 2010 or something like that for someone wanted her to sing in Second Life for Bitcoin, and she thought it was silly and turned it down, and it would have been thousands and thousands of Bitcoin. So
that's funny that Josh would mention Second Life. I wanted to mention that as well. It's really amazing, you know, to be so old and a computer user. But I remember about 20 years ago, a friend of mine was making virtual objects in Second Life, partially for sale, but also as art. And one of the things he made was a vacuum cleaner. And you could now vacuum the room. And it was perfectly absurd. There's no dirt. There's no dust. Even if there was, you could probably get a slider and reset your room from clean to dirty. But yes, he designed a vacuum cleaner back then for Second Life. So these ideas have been going on for a long time, but now they're finally here and they're working. And it's funny for me as well. A few years ago, I worked on a project called Curio Cards that no one's probably heard of, but we obviously have the rarest NFTs around. None are this rare. And Curio Cards was built on the Ethereum blockchain. And some of the changes that we made to Ethereum ended up in the ERC 721 token standard, where they reference both Curio Cards and rare Pepes as old versions of these NFT ideas that they are refactoring into what became the 721 chip. So of course I get 5 cents for every one of those transactions, so I'm all set. But no, I don't. But it's fun to see these ideas come to fruition. And my idea was mainly just collectibles and baseball cards. And I think we've gone well beyond that now. So it's exciting to see this new space develop.
Yeah, what's the price at now? We've veered off into the, oh, look at that. We're back up. I mean, it's gonna dance around, folks. I have to head to the bed I've got a long day ahead of me tomorrow. But I want to thank the World Crypto Network. I want to ask you to hit the like and subscribe. Tell your friends. This network has really been around for such a long time. Thomas, you've done such an amazing job with the World Crypto Network. It's been one of those passions. You've never sold out. You've always been there for everyone. And I have to say that a big thank you from a lot of people who have learned a lot from this show. And those who forget, a lot of the big stars in Bitcoin have come from the World Crypto Network. We talked about Toyin Vase, we talked about Jimmy Song, we talked about a whole bunch of people have all come from your channel here. So you've really brought a lot of things to this network, to this whole community. And not only that, you keep people informed, and you're always there. So please hit that subscribe, and I love you all. Peace out.
Thanks so much, Josh. And everyone, be sure to check out Vaultoro, vaultoro.com. You can buy Bitcoin and gold. You can trade Bitcoin for gold. It's a whole Bitcoin exchange there that Josh works at Vaultoro. So I want to get you a plug in there too, Josh. So thanks so much for Josh for joining us. I think we'll head towards the end of the show here. It's getting late in Europe. Vesa, one more time, where can people check out your art? Where can they learn about your new projects?
Easiest one is artforcrypto.com, and on Twitter, I'm mostly active there, at Art by Vesa, VESA. And I'm gonna go along with the previous. It's an honor to be with you, bro. It's every time we hang out, I get something new, and it's a privilege to be hanging out with someone who's been there from the origins, and how much you do for this whole thing. So thanks for having me on again, and looking forward to the next one.
Well, thanks so much, man. And Ben, are you still working on the chatbot? Do you want to say anything in closing here?
We're not closing. You can't go away. I'm not letting you, because I want to get this thing working, and I want to have the first microtransaction. I don't know what you call it. We need to call it something. I want to break some ground. So you're not going anywhere. So get used to it.
I don't know. I think we're going to break some ground towards lunch before too long. We've been on for like 3 hours straight here, but I don't know, Ben. Do you want to keep going with the show? We've got 60 people that will hang out with you if you want.
No. You've got to stay, man, because I need you. I need you to stay here so I can experiment. Only for like 5 minutes, and then we'll
5 minutes. All right. Let me see. I was going to do the news. Let me see if there's any news here going on. Let's see.
Well, guys, while you do that, I'm going to return to my painting and all this stuff. So I'm going to send my piece. Nice to meet you as well, Ben. Cheers.
Very cool. Thanks for joining us, Vesa. And everyone check out Vesa's art at Art for Crypto, and on Twitter at Vesa, or I think it's Vesa Art. So thanks so much, man.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. We're checking out the price of Bitcoin. It hit an all-time high today. You guys probably heard about that. Of course, it went down a little after that, as it is like to do. The price of Bitcoin is up 6.44% in the last 24 hours, with a last of 19,382, a high of 19,844. That's a new all-time high, and a low of $18,080. That's $1 for 5,156 Satoshis. Checking about our top stories today. Of course, CoinDesk had an article. Bitcoin price sets new record high above 19,783. We have seen the new Bitcoin high. We talked about this a little bit earlier, but in case you haven't seen the article, check it out. Chinese police seize crypto worth $4.2 billion. This was the Plus token Ponzi scheme, which was affecting the market. Whenever they sold, the market would go down. Now, all of those coins, various coins, not just Bitcoin, are all in the hands of the Chinese government. So the enemy of my enemy is my enemy. I'm not sure. We'll have to see how that goes. We were going to talk about some more generic stories in case no one made it here. But we had lots of guests and lots to talk about today. So that was great. Generic stories wise, I'm very interested to see who's going to take over for Alex Trebek on Jeopardy, a famous quiz show in America. The questions and the answers. A bit of an echo.
Did you hear that?
Yeah, I heard that. What happened, Ben?
Yay.
Is it working? Anyway, they say Ken Jennings, one of the former contestants on the show, is going to take over at first. Other people want Betty White, Anderson Cooper. A lot of people on the internet are saying LeVar Burton, Geordi from Star Trek would be a great host of Jeopardy. I like Ken Jennings. I like LeVar Burton, but I'm very interested to see what happens with Jeopardy. Did you know the next time you're thinking about skipping that boring meeting, remember that George Harrison wrote "Here Comes the Sun," the most streamed Beatles song, while hiding out from an Apple Corps meeting at Eric Clapton's house. How cool is that little story there about "Here Comes the Sun," a beautiful Beatles song. Kyle Torpy, a friend of the show and frequent guest on the Bitcoin group these days. Kyle says, crypto isn't Bitcoin and a bunch of shit coins. Crypto is Bitcoin, Signal, Proton Mail, VPNs, Mastodon, Tor, Tails, etc. And it's funny you mentioned that one of our early stickers here on the World Crypto Network, which obviously we named before the whole crypto craze. But one of our stickers actually says something like that. It says VPNs, encryption, encrypted mail. You know, that's all the things that we're into. And we're into technology in general. So I thought that was a great redefinition there by Kyle. Coughing a little here, a little dry. Keep an eye out on that COVID-19. COVID-19 is more and more becoming a chronic disease. That means that after you get it, it will never really go away. 10 to 35% of patients suffer persistent symptoms, mostly neurological, autonomic nervous system dysfunction, sleep, pain, dizziness, cognitive difficulties. A study, even after 1/3 hospitalization, had memory problems. So wear a mask, avoid people, don't let anyone breathe on you. Let's not get this disease. It's bad even if you're young and healthy. It could hurt you for a long time. As Robert Reich says, if America learns one thing from this miserable pandemic, please may it be that healthcare is a basic human right that must be guaranteed for all. Certainly agree with that. I got a new iPhone. I'm on the iPhone lease plan, so I get a new iPhone every year, but I pay a little bit more for that. I think it's a good idea because this way I have the best possible camera to carry around with me, as well as I realize that iPhone, like my shoes and my laptop and my bed, is something that I use every day. So if I'm going to put money into something, it should be like shoes or mattress or iPhone or laptop, the things I use every day. The new iPhone has really good download speed, but what I'm impressed by is the upload speed. I really think this new iPhone and the 5G network that sometimes it attaches to could be very valuable for a content producer like myself, streaming video on the road, uploading video and photos on the road. Could be a really useful tool as well as a very good camera. So I've been reviewing the iPhone as I think of new things to test out and to try these days. The Tokyo Olympics are being delayed because of the COVID-19 virus, of course. The cost to delay the Olympics is estimated at $2 billion. The Olympics, which were said to cost around $7 billion, are actually currently running at around $12 billion plus this $2. That's $14 billion for some sports games. $5.6 billion of that is being paid by the Japanese people directly. So the Olympics are a very expensive thing. and COVID is not helping out at all. Bitcoinal 1.7 is here just in time for the price of Bitcoin to break the all-time high. We've been checking out Bitcoinal. This is DJ Booth's interactive chart of the Bitcoin price. It's got all this fun stuff. You can knock away all these little things, collect them. It's got a counter in the corner. It's a seasonal price chart. So right now it's winter again as the price of Bitcoin has gone down. You'll note at other times when the price of Bitcoin's going up, it's summertime. It's bitcoinal.com. It's a seasonal Bitcoin price chart for your viewing enjoyment. Thanks to DJ Booth for his work on making this very cool webpage, and also for Tallycoin at tallycoin.co or tallycoinco.in. Finally, we have a joke before we're going back to Ben here and I run out of voice. IT person goes to the doctor, says he's depressed, says work IT security requirements are harsh and inflexible. The doctor goes, the fix is simple. Talk to your Azure security administrator. They will grant exception. Patient bursts into tears, says, but doctor, I am security administrator. That's not a large percentage of people that are going to get that joke, but I think it's hilarious. It's also hilarious that former President Donald Trump paid $3 million to have a partial recount in Wisconsin, only for Joe Biden, his opponent, President-elect Joe Biden, to gain 87 votes. I don't have the heart to realize how much he paid to lose another 87 million votes, but it was a lot. And a fond farewell and a sad goodbye to David Prowse, the actor behind Darth Vader. Many people know of James Earl Jones, the baritone voice of Darth Vader, but it was really David Prowse who brought the character to life, scaring us, reaching his hand out to Luke, choking that guy in the first movie. That was all real Darth Vader, David Prowse. It's really unfortunate. George Lucas replaced his voice in the movie without telling him. I think the first time he learned about it was at a screening of the film, something like that. And he hasn't been very happy ever since. Disney and other people tried to move Darth Vader away from him so that he could not claim the likeness, when really it's this 7-foot tall man that we're all afraid of. It's this giant in the Darth Vader suit. It's not James Earl Jones inside the suit. So it was very sad what happened to David Prowse. But still, we can always enjoy his performance and his strength as Darth Vader. So very cool story. Here's a classic photo of vintage Las Vegas. Look at all those amazing motels. Some of them are still here today in town. The Bitcoin mining difficulty has been approaching the all-time high, so it's harder than ever before. You would need more computers, more processors, more graphics cards, whatever it is, to mine your Bitcoin these days as the price continues to climb as well. Spotify is testing Snapchat-like stories for playlists. I don't know why this virus continues to spread. Twitter recently launched Fleets, a new disappearing tweet app. I hate disappearing data. I hate it as much as I hate lost data, which is the only thing I can imagine worse than making data that purposely disappears. So I went on to complain about Twitter's Fleets for a while there. Check out the Bitcoin group. We do a weekly chat show here on the World Crypto Network called the Bitcoin Group. We've done quite a lot of them here, 237 weekly episodes. That's a lot of years. There's only 52 weeks in a year. Also, check out the Internet Archive. They've got a matching donation campaign on Cyber Monday. Support the Internet Archive. They create the Wayback Machine. It's not just web pages. You can view what the web used to be like in the old days. You can also now play Flash games, play old DOS games, look at photos and videos. There's all kinds of great information in the Internet Archive. So if you have some extra funds, support the Internet Archive. And all the app trackers started to crash when the Bitcoin price went up. A couple of the exchanges went down. I agree with Whale Panda. It's been 2 years. you had to fix the servers. You still haven't fixed the servers after 2 years. Things are getting worse in Hong Kong, but according to HKFP, the Hong Kong Free Press, this is kind of a sarcastic article. Look on the bright side of totalitarian rule. There's going to be better uniforms, bigger parades, swifter elections, and shorter trials. Just think about the benefits of dictatorship. Obviously, a tongue-in-cheek article here, but sometimes that's the best way to get information out. Crypto Graffiti says the most bullish signal is how many people prepared elaborate all-time high posts in advance. There's been a lot of great posts on Twitter and other social networks celebrating the Bitcoin all-time high, and I'm glad to join them here with Crypto Graffiti. Casey Neistat, longtime YouTuber. I've watched him since his HBO days, and before that, secretly came out as a Bitcoiner a few years ago, or sorry, a few days ago, a few weeks maybe. He said that he used to mine Bitcoin back in the day. It was a nightmare. It was very loud and very hot. So he's come around again with a nice tweet for the Bitcoin all-time high saying, "HODL with a rocket ship." Very cool for someone like Casey Neistat to support the Bitcoin. Balaji says that fiat currency isn't real. Another bold prediction from Balaji. And more complaining about how the Twitter interface is getting smaller with the fleets. Bitcoin hits all-time high driven by institutional buying. And that's pretty much about where we got to when it was time to launch this show. Be sure to support this show by going to shop.worldcryptonetwork.com. We've got World Crypto Network, the t-shirt, World Crypto Network, the mug, the Treasures Don't Float t-shirt, and Bitcoin Not Bombs, the 2020 Halvening edition at shop.worldcryptonetwork.com. It's just on Teespring. Really easy to find. The t-shirts are also right below this video. Thanks to all the new viewers for joining us today. If you just came by, it's your first time here, give us a thumbs up and subscribe down below. We do shows like this all the time for years and years and years now. But Ben, there it is. I've stalled as long as I can stall. Are you ready with the chatbot? You're still muted, but I'm not.
No, I'm not ready. But we can try it, and hopefully it won't. Hopefully it will work. It always freaks me out with the exchanges when they break as the price goes up, because it makes me wonder if they're running some sort of fractional reserve, and they're worried that if the price goes up too much and everyone wants to pull out their funds, that they're they won't have the money, they won't have the value there to pay everybody.
Oh, what's that alternative to Occam's razor? Never give to malice what you can say was incompetence, something like that. But yes, they're likely just incompetent. They don't have enough servers. But
well, I don't know. I mean, it's not
what the chatbot's supposed to do and what it would do if it works. And then we'll try it. And then we're running out of time. You
want me to go faster? I'm gonna go faster then.
No, you can go normal speed. But
on your fancy new iPhone, have you got your fancy new iPhone with you now? Has it got
always? I have no choice.
Has it got a Lightning wallet with you?
Yeah, I got a wallet of Satoshi. I got a couple, man.
Has it got any sats in it?
Yeah. Ooh. I got a million sats, dude. I'm a baller.
Whoa. See, what's going to happen now? Sorry, yeah. So can you scan that with a regular normal? Not what
it says. This is not a Lightning invoice.
No, I know, because don't scan it with that. Just scan it with like a regular normal QR code reader thing.
Okay.
I think it's like on the iPhone isn't just a camera. Isn't just the
camera. The camera is built in, or I have this other thing. So find a code scanned. Oh wow, they added in the new operating system. It added in a little graphic where it took a picture of the QR code and then it became animated and it came up. Okay, so that loads to WCN chatbot webpage.
Yeah. There we are. So put your name. You don't have to put your email in there; it's optional. And then send a question or a comment, or you can just interject with some swearing or whatever. But you'll pay per word.
Per word, like Dickens, huh? But in reverse. Yeah. Bitcoin rules. Save me some money. Okay, so it says 2,000 sats to pay. Sounds pricey. Okay,
Right, we
submit.
shouldn't have told us what it was. Hands free here.
Oh,
So pay
everything is free. It's all free. Okay, so I copied the invoice. I took the invoice over to my program, but it doesn't have a paste button.
I think if you should just pop up in the
Let's see, scan NFC, paste address.
just-
Oh wait, there it is. I saw it. Okay, so I go to the little dots. Go to the dots where it hides everything. That's a computer tip for you.
Oh, there we are. You said awesome show. Did you do that?
No, somebody else did that. Here's mine. I'm gonna say pay to say Bitcoin rules. All right, payment sent.
Okay, give it a second to do its magic, and then hopefully.
See what my webpage says. Where'd it go? Nothing's happening, but it worked for someone else.
What did it? What does the webpage say? Does it say thank you paid?
I think the webpage went away because it was a scanned QR code webpage. So I don't know where those go. So yeah, I can't get back to that because it was in photos or something.
Someone managed to drop in awesome show. Someone, whoever's out there in the audience, drop us a message.
Made it work. How'd they make it work? Let's see what the chat says. Say happy all-time high. Oh, Mike says LeVar Burton is from Sacramento. I'd forgotten that. That would be cool. That would be cool, LeVar Burton. Other people are saying they like LeVar Burton. He'd be a good one. Mighty Helmet says Trebek will be missed. He was good people. I agree with that. Jeopardy is a great show. And I like Ken Jennings too, but I also like LeVar Burton. I don't know. It's going slow forever, Ben. I don't think it's working.
I'll tell you what you could do. We could do some magic, right? So go back onto the webpage thing.
I can't because I
slipped in awesome show. That's pretty clever.
Somebody did it. Okay, give me the QR code again. I gotta scan it again. I think we gotta start over. Part of it's the scan page. It's not quite the same as my Safari. It's more like a hosted pop-up Safari that goes away. Let me open this into a.
Oh, someone said hello from Germany.
Hello from Germany, dude. Ben, this works.
Did you hear that?
Make it louder. It needs to be louder.
It needs to be louder. I don't know how to do that because did it sound tinny or what did it sound like when it came through? It
just sounded like a very quiet computer voice. It said like hello from Germany.
We need to work on that, don't we? So, I mean, it works. So hopefully, next time I'll run it through OBS. So where it says CB, that'll just be a QR code. You can scan it, write in a message, and then it will very loudly interrupt us all and just say something because, you paid your stats and whatever. So yeah, scan that again, Thomas.
I'm gonna try one more time. Let's see. So I got this here.
Not one more time until it works as many times as it takes. Come
times. Yeah, I'm gonna run out of Satoshis. Let's see. Everyone needs to be quiet so I can hear my fancy word. Okay.
Someone said a very.
I did that. That worked. It worked, Ben. That was it. I got a good deal because anti-disestablishmentarianism is the longest word I could think of. So I really wanted to get my, money from my Satoshis.
Wordsworth.
Yeah.
It's a pretty cool concept though, isn't it? So you could have, somebody, you can set the amount of Satoshis you want to charge in the back end very easily on LM bits. But then, when we're doing our Bitcoin group or whatever, anybody, if they pay the Satoshis, can just interject some text, some words, and it would just come through the Discord chat bot.
Would be better than audio because we could just put it on the screen somehow with OBS. But
that would work too.
Show like this when we're just kind of loose and open to have people say stuff, but we just have to make sure we can hear it because otherwise they'll be disappointed they don't get their good deal. But no, that's amazing. It worked. The technology cool. Worked. Built on LN bits. We're still heading towards the end though, but why don't you tell people more about LN bits? Where can they get it? Try it out. What does it do?
Well, you can download and run it yourself. There's a tutorial on WCN, in fact, which I did recently, where I show you how to run it on a VPS behind a domain name with HTTPS, and it takes like 10 minutes to set up, and it costs $, using Lightning Network, so you can do it anonymously or pseudo-anonymously, using a burner email or something. So that's on the WCN if you look for it. There's an LM Bits playlist where it goes into more detail about what LM Bits is. It's just more, a whole bunch of things. But at the moment, it's very good for using if you just want to play around with ideas and hack into it, and then build services. So this is the LM Tickets extension I'm using in LM Bits. I've just added today the ability to add a webhook, so and a URL. So if someone sends a ticket, you can then forward. I meant to do this ages ago. You can then forward the ticket to something. So you could forward it, to an email address, or you could forward it to, MZ. I thought it might be MZ, Germany. Somebody competent enough to be able to work our hacky stuff. So he broke ground with the first. I don't know what should we call it? The first live paid interjected chat. We'll have to come up with a funky name for it. That is the coolest thing about Bitcoin and the Lightning Network is you just constantly. It's very easy to spend a little bit of time developing whatever or building something or even just doing art or whatever, and you can break new ground. You're always breaking new ground. And there's not many disciplines which you can do that in. They've most disciplines in this. If you think of something like quantum physics or something, or physics, you're gonna have to work quite hard before you get to a point where you can break new ground. Whereas in Bitcoin, you can be the first one to buy a glass of wine on the Liquid network, or I don't know, all sorts of interesting stuff. I imagine over the years, Thomas, you've got many firsts under your belt when it comes to Bitcoin. And it's they're fun things to collect, fun memories to collect. So LM Bits, look it up, play with it, it's great. Thanks for doing the show, Thomas. I didn't know that we'd hit an all-time high until I saw it in our WCN chat, so that's pretty cool. It was to be expected, though. I'm not surprised. I'm not like, oh my god, we've broken through. It was such a felt, it wasn't like in 2017 we had a crazy run up to 20k. That was clearly very unsustainable, and it was going to collapse down in on itself or go crackers and carry on running up, I suppose. Whereas this feels a lot more sustainable. Awesome show number 2.
All right, nice.
I didn't know what would happen if you put a number in there, actually, whether my crappy code would times the amount of Satoshis which you'd paid or something, but it worked. Obviously, you put awesome show number 2. It's great, man. It's great. Well done for putting the show together. It's been a lot of fun, and I'm glad we managed to get the chatty bot working. And when we next use it, it will scroll the question across the chatty bot screen, and then also play it for us if we want it to. So we'll have fun playing around with that next time.
They're saying in the chat you should call it Yellbot.
Yellbot. Yeah, there we are.
It's nice and short.
Chatty bot stupid. Yeah, Yellbot.
And but no, it was good to hang out with everybody today. It was good to see the Bitcoin all-time price high. Remember, it doesn't matter if you have a lot of Bitcoin or a little bit of Bitcoin. You're involved in Bitcoin now. You can, like Ben here, you can become a volunteer. You can start building your own software. Like Vesa, you can make your own art. You can try to interpret Bitcoin, try to understand Satoshi through art. You can contribute. There's all kinds of ways to give back to Bitcoin, big and small. You don't have to be a programmer. You don't have to be here early. You don't have to be some genius. You just have to get involved and help out. There's a lot of positions here for Bitcoin, and all of our positions pay in Bitcoin. Maybe not enough to survive, but they pay a little bit. And that's fun too. That was one of the neat ideas I had when I started the Mad Bitcoin shows. If I put a QR code up, people could send me money directly, like not through YouTube, not through Google, not through PayPal, not through all these middlemen that each want a taste of the money. But directly. And I just thought that was an amazing thing. And just demonstrating that with the show was another good reason I thought to do the show. So thanks again to everybody for joining us. We're going to head towards the end of the show. We'll be back again soon. So please subscribe down below. Hit the thumbs up on this show. That helps YouTube recommend this video to other people. Hit the thumbs up on your other YouTube videos that you like too. It's free and everybody says it, but it helps YouTubers. Also, you can subscribe to me on Twitter at Mad Bitcoins. Subscribe to the World Crypto Network on Twitter at World Crypto Net. Subscribe to Ben. Where's your Twitter these days? At Ben Arc.
I don't know. I think so. It's either Arc BTC or Ben Arc or something like that. I changed it from the BTC Socialist because too many people weren't finding the. It was a very hard decision to make because I think it's important to fly the lefty flag and say, we can see value in Bitcoin as well, but it's also equally important that I don't drown out the projects and the software which I'm working on because of my political orientation. So I changed it, but I still feel like a sellout, from time to time.
Just tell them you're a lefty after they meet you. You don't have to do it right away.
Well, I mean, that would work. I'd be in some Bitcoin conference. I'd be chatting to somebody, and they'd be like, "Oh, hey, man, what's your Twitter name?" And I'd be like, "Oh, it's BTC Socialist, motherfucker." And sorry. And then they go, "Oh, okay." And I'd be like, "If you follow me, you're a commie now." And they did.
Yeah, no. You get more flies with honey, right?
Yeah, exactly. And I think this is something which is very hard to strike a balance on. Is well,
yeah, it's coming. And we're back.
Another hour.
One more Jitsi hour break there. Ben was almost to the end. What were you saying, Ben?
Oh, I can't remember. I was going to have a little rant actually, but
you have to be left wing, but you don't want to turn people away. And I think that's.
I think it's so. I quite like. I mean, a lot of people get scared about the polarization which is happening in our world right now, but I actually think it's people find it easier to kind of get the information they want to get access to. So the more people are reading Marx, more people are reading Hayek, whatever, and it's reminding us of these debates which we had, and then for a long time we were kind of suppressed in society because it's better for state if we're all quite centrists at home watching TV, drinking a few beers, and not questioning things too much and trying to start revolutions. Maybe they're right, I don't know. But I actually, a lot of people get worried about the polarization which is happening because it is worrying. But I actually think that that's really how really how you can explore those ideas properly. So it's just doing it in a way which doesn't disrupt the world in a scary way. But in saying that, I don't want I don't want the echo chambers and the bubbles which appear in social media to affect things which are very neutral, which is just the hardware and software which I've been contributing to or working on or whatever. And I kind of felt like some of my political stuff was affecting that, and that's a shame. So and then there is also the argument that you can Trojan, you can if you can get in behind the not enemy lines, but if you can find a common interest with somebody, you can then share your less common ideas with them afterwards as an afterthought, and then it's maybe we'll plant some seeds and they'll think things through in a more balanced way. And that's not just for them, it's also for me, so I can get access to more different ideas and find synthesis in my own ideas and beliefs. So polarization, good, bad. Bad in Bitcoin when it tries to define Bitcoin. I think after all, as I said before, we should think of Bitcoin as apolitical. And going forward, we're going to see Bitcoin was always very libertarian, and well, for a while it was quite right on the right side of things politically. But obviously, China's just, China's the bad left, as I like to call it. But they've just suddenly now got a massive wad of stacks some sats, so they're going to have to start being a bit more interested in Bitcoin and what Bitcoin is and how they use it. And so more and more people are interested in Bitcoin from all walks of life. So I think that's going to be it's cool that Bitcoin has broken an all-time high this year because it's been such a rocky year, and I look forward, and obviously it's 2020. I look forward to the next 10 years of Bitcoin and seeing where we go from here.
And I do think this is a preview of the challenges we're going to see in the future. This polarization of ideology that Ben's talking about, the inability of anyone to consider the other side's opinion or their view, and this kind of separation, at least in the United States, into two separate societies based on different ideas of truth, different versions of truth. It's all very postmodern, but that's something to look forward to in the future. Also, this Chinese issue with China having a large amount of Bitcoin and altcoins, just seized them from the plus token. Maybe China's our friend now. And I think, like Adam brought up, what's going to be the next fight in Bitcoin? I think it's going to be privacy. And I think we're going to see many of these highly lauded individuals from the stock market who rolled in with their millions of dollars and are rolling out with tens of millions. They're going to start telling us what to do with Bitcoin, what our opinion should be. And I think they're going to be saying, just don't do anything. Just leave it there. Don't add anything. Whereas I think the true Bitcoiners, and especially the cypherpunks, the cyberpunks, the people that have been with us since the beginning, are going to say, no, we're going to keep marching this software towards fungibility, towards privacy, towards a currency, towards something to replace all of these systems we've talked about. And all of these various friends we've met along the way in the big business communities might not be our friends by the end of this journey. But remember what Cortez did when he reached the New World. He burned his ships. He said to his crew, we win this thing or we die. There's no running home. So I think in the same way, Bitcoin has burned the ships. We're burning bridges behind us, all of those things. And we're focused on going through the enemy. As Patton said, we're going to run through them like shit through a goose. we're gonna use their guts to grease the treads of our tanks. You know, I almost feel sorry for those poor fiat bastards. I do.
No, very nice sentiment. And I completely and utterly agree. Bitcoin is not static. It's constantly evolving, constantly changing. And it is, you know, whenever you have a thought leader say Bitcoin is perfect and it solves this and it solves that and it's perfect and Bitcoin, isn't it great and blah, blah, blah. I cringe and I just think, oh, you know, you're going to be given a few years, you're going to be on the wrong side of history arguing that, you know, Bitcoin doesn't need to change for whatever reason. So, yeah, looking forward to seeing the software develop and change and improve, which it will inevitably do because it's free and open source. Great.
All right. And thanks to everybody for joining us. Thanks for commenting in the chat, having a back and forth and a discussion, being polite to each other. At least, hopefully, you're generally polite to each other. Thanks for the thumbs up and the share, subscribing down below. Hit us up on Twitter, all those kind of things. If you want to donate, we've got some Bitcoin addresses in the description. T-shirts are always a good idea. Mugs are nice. And we'll be back with another show in no time at all. So thanks so much for joining us. Until next time, bye-bye.
I'm trying to do my chat bot to say bye-bye before it ends. See if I can get